So, aside from technical marvels, last week on the Extinction Curse, having been solidly victorious in our efforts against the Celestial Menagerie, not only stopping Mistress Dusklight, but also making our way through her entire circus ground and, well, pilfering the vast majority of her talent, I would say, is the thing that we're going to go with. Pilfering is a solid word. We have sniped a lot of them. We've made a lot of new friends. And it was absolutely time for us to put on a new performance. But having finished that show successfully, once again, putting a pretty large amount of gold back in the circus's coffers, we were faced briefly with some very strange spectral phantom ghost clown things that seem to have been attracted to the performance itself. We laid them low, and that is almost exactly what we left off. The crowds filtering out, the money being counted, and backstage now, well, I would say moderately, at this point, probably not even shaken, just moderately disturbed professor, holding his head from that attack the one of them had done, which Arbus had been able to heal up afterwards. Well, that was something. I don't know what exactly just happened, but I don't feel it had anything to do with the Celestial Menagerie. What were those things?
I'm not entirely sure. Cookie, you seen those before?
I ain't never seen nothing like it. Ain't never seen it in the menagerie. Ain't never seen it around here. All I know is that I'm like, hoo-ha, and my knife kind of just goes, woo. But it hurt him.
Surprisingly effective, given their what appeared to be barely corporeal nature. And anybody who has religion, if you wish to, can make me a GM rolled religion check to try to know what the hell just happened. Does anybody want to do that?
I'm untrained in religion, but I have a +11 to it.
How?
Yeah, that's
improvised, whatever it's called.
Untrained improvisation.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, that doesn't seem physically possible, but okay.
It's very physically possible.
Yeah, if you want to throw me, do you remember how to do their GM rolls?
Blind GM roll.
Blind me that dice. Just the existence of the blind die button makes me feel a lot better about secret checks, because at least you get to press the button that rolls dice. At least you get to do it, even if you don't... do you even see the die? Obviously, you wouldn't see the result. Do you see any animation at all, or does it just say you rolled me a die?
It says, I rolled you a die and made some noise.
No, it makes a noise. You get to hear the noise. You get to be involved in the process. So as far as you can tell, although you are certainly not an expert in these things, they didn't just appear to be incorporeal. Based on what happened when Arbus had set out that wave of healing to counteract that sonic blast, it seemed to cripple them pretty well. They did seem to truly be ghosts or specters of some kind, though generally ghosts are a result of, a spirit that can't be put at rest because something has been lost, but these all seemed, far too similar to one another for that to be necessarily the case, but also they didn't seem terribly bothered. Ghosts are usually angry, raving phantasms, hateful things. They seem to, almost be enjoying the show.
So roll on religion?
It was, if you want a blind roll religion, yeah.
Gotcha, boss.
Yeah, and you as well. So while it had been in your mind, you can look back now, you can reflect. It clearly had been inside you, not necessarily possessing you, but at least along for the ride. And it didn't seem to take any real attempt to take control of you, not that you could notably tell. But it did impact your emotions, your experiences. But it wasn't entirely negative. Well, that thing was riding along with you, as far as you can tell, what makes sense now looking back at it. You only felt more overwhelmed, accomplished, prideful of your achievements of the show you'd managed to put on, as if those specters were, well, enjoying the show as much as the audience. As to what they were or their possible origin, though.
Cookie, I hope you believe in ghosts, because you just met one.
Well, I gotta say that was a little spooky, especially the one that popped out of my back. Probably messed up my hat. Take the hat off, look at it real quick.
Well, whatever they were, at least the danger seems to have passed quickly enough. And another, well, dare I say, terribly successful night. Perhaps Escadar, well, doesn't deserve all the negativity we throw its way. Dusklight and the menagerie certainly do, but its people seem to be more than forthcoming with their coin. Still, though, if we're going to collapse everything tomorrow of the afternoon, bring the tarps and the poles down to get it all packed to move, I suppose you might as well get that going sooner rather than later.
Prof, do we have any, how do I phrase this nicely? People of the roguish persuasion in the circus?
He just kind of looks to, like, the scattered and somewhat confused crowd around you backstage here after that fight. Just everything. I would be inclined to ask if we have anything but. What in particular, dare I ask, are you hoping for, Selwyn?
Well, I got this really mean glare, right? But I really want it to be meaner. And I was hoping one of these louts could help me out on the way.
And you feel a hand on your shoulder. Pretty large, very strong, and firm. And you see a pink frill at just about eye level. You turn to see Asha kind of standing over you. Why do you think you need a thief or shadowy sort? You want to be scary? Is this what you want?
Yes. I'm more scary. I'm pretty scary already.
This is not... Is this for show? Circus? You are very small.
I would like to give her the meanest glare I can. I'd like to make an intimidation roll.
Okay.
Just to demonstrate.
Oh, please.
She's shot, fam. Get in there. Let me go find her.
Let's get it.
That one. Give it to me, please.
Don't say that. All right, good enough.
30.
Thank you, modifier.
30 will absolutely succeed. And as you kind of glare up at her, her eyes widen a bit, and she tightens her grip on your shoulder for a moment.
And my stance will relax, my facial expression will soften. Like that. But I want to be able to do it when, you stab someone in the bar, right? Someone said something about your girlfriend. You shank him, and then one of his boys come up to you and say, "What the fuck are you doing?" You wanna point to the bloody bottle that you broke on his bed, and say, "What's up?" Right?
Is this a regular problem you find yourself having?
No, I was just a general case scenario. I'm more gonna use it when I shank a truck.
She looks confused for a moment. I don't know. I want to inquire further as to that particular euphemism. Would you not ask Zerg? He carries himself proudly. Surely he can impress his will upon the rest of you.
I don't bother. It's too much work. I just do my own thing and let them squabble. It's not worth the effort, I promise this.
He's more of a Puncher. He's not really much for the intricacies of, well, anything really.
I can, I just don't want to. Can't be bothered.
Mhm.
From the other side of you, Selwyn, a much softer voice coming from Tulip. No, hon, I don't know exactly what it is that you're after here, but I've definitely had to break up a fair few things back in my day when I used to be a ranger. And well, I know how much. Look, and she like literally kneels down to get down closer to your level on your other side. Now she kind of steps back a little bit. Look, Sugar, I know this whole thing with Lizard has been difficult, but that's the only other time I heard any of you talk about Trogs.
While it's a lot easier to say I want to kill Trogs for my personal pursuit of vengeance than to say I wanted to save the, the Isles as a whole. So, personal justification instead of a more generous one. And also forget about the middle part of that.
Well, if there's one thing I can tell you is, from what I learned, well, back before signing up with the menagerie and that whole lot, it's a lot easier to, have to fight one person than three. And typically, you show you can fight one of them, the rest of them are pretty quick to stand down. Your whole bar analogy is a little winding and kind of hard to follow, but I take it I can help you.
Thumbs up. Happy to oblige. Happy to be helped.
As she stands back up. And Asha, I think you're not entirely wrong, hun. Your particular brand of medicine definitely makes a lot more sense for someone closer to your stature is also the word I was going to use, yes. Nasha just kind of crosses her arms and looks over. Perhaps. I don't know why anyone would have any fear or place such respect in a creature so physically underwhelming. He just kind of looks back over to Zerg. Why do you not run this show, Zerg?
Can't be bothered mostly. I could, I just it's not worth the effort. Can't be bothered, lazy.
Also, he doesn't know his basic numbers.
Well, all of this notwithstanding, our plans were to head to the Isle of Kortos, yes?
Yes.
Well, as the crew is working to take everything down and prepare it for traveling tomorrow, I suppose that I'll head down to the ports and take some of tonight's profits and see about chartering a ship or two.
Wait.
Possibly three. This is getting to be quite a large production.
Well,
Moving it across the inner sea, even a short distance, is...
You keep saying those words, Professor. I must be misunderstanding you. Boat?
Are you under the impression that there is a bridge?
Is there not?
Selwyn, the Erran and Kortos Isles are dozens of miles apart. Oh, we'll be sailing, of course. Unless you and your undisclosed travels have met a wizard willing to teleport us all there.
My lower mouth begins to, quibble. I haven't.
Are you alright, Selwyn?
No. I don't want to say it. It's the one thing I could never get the hang of. The stupid sea. Those wobbling boats. At least it's a short voyage, right? It's a couple hours at most, right?
Blue, kind of sensing distress. Everyone's just kind of standing around awkwardly. Steps up next to Professor. Just kind of unsure what to do with his hands for a moment. Now, Zelwyn, while I make no secret of sharing your disdain for, well, any kind of sailing, it's... well, I imagine it's going to be at least a day or two journey on the ocean over to the, well, depending on where it is we're going.
Blue, why do you enjoy inflicting such misery upon me?
With everything that I've seen you, all the scars you've been wielding coming back from your various adventures, even after fighting me and Delamar, a boat really can't be among the highest of your concerns.
You're right, it can't be among the highest, it is the highest. You see, fighting, scars, getting hurt, there's always a sweet to the sour. There's a victory involved. There's a taste of sorts.
There's an Arabis.
Okay, sure. And with the sea, I can't win. It's just misery.
Well, as I said, I've never been much of a fan either. But I'm not one to discount anyone's personal past traumas. Everyone's got their own challenges, their own battles they're fighting behind the scenes. And you got your own demons coming in at night, I'm sure. But I just can't help but feel that if you put that in the greater perspective of everything you've, well, dealt with even just here in Escadar at the hands of Dusklight and, well, me in some situations. A boat. Well, the normal metaphor I'd be using here is wouldn't rock you that much, but I suppose that is, well, the metaphor itself. He just kind of glanced over to Arbus. But, you got this one here, this, the wolf girl, the wild sword, master in nature and magic and all kinds. Isn't she the one always spouting on about the wind and the waves? It sounds like both of these here. Her well domain. You got her with you, I can't imagine you a single thing going wrong on a voyage as simple as this one.
I'm not afraid of the sea. I'm afraid of being seasick, which always happens.
This is what you don't have to worry, Selwyn. It's going to be a glorious ride. I will enjoy every second of it, and you will too.
I'm sure you will, and your jolly behavior is going to make it even worse for me.
I will not be jolly.
I'll be vomiting over the rails. You'll be like, "What's up, Selwyn?" I'll be like, "Bleh, just fine and dandy."
But if you're the vomits, you're not fine and dandy.
Oh, I suppose I'm not.
I believe...
Times like this, I am glad I'm a Leshy. I've seen people vomit. Not
I
fun.
believe the simplest course of action here, well, may very well just not to eat anything. Or, at the very least, a recommendation I got from an old friend and something that was once very valuable back in my... And he kind of touches to the pretty prominent, like, burn scars up and down his neck. In my older days. Peanut butter.
Peanut butter.
Well,
Misako
part of
loves
fire
peanut
breathing
butter.
involves inhaling more than a reasonable share of smoke, and I would spend many nights after the shows cradling my bucket, so to speak, and I got into the habit of eating, well, very little but peanut butter beforehand, as, well, they weren't wrong. It was good advice. It doesn't really change much on the way in and the way out.
Right, because of the salt.
I don't know specifically why it is that happens. I just know that it does a good work covering up that general bile taste.
Can I at least have a private cabinet in which I can cry?
Well, how much gold? He picks up a ledger. How much gold did we bring in today?
My greed versus my seasickness. No.
Well, I'd say it's relatively unlikely.
If Selwyn gets private cabin, I won't want to.
Oh no.
Well, we're going to be looking more for a ferry than a proper charter ship, as we're still going to need the wagons on the far shores, so I imagine nobody's getting much of a cabin beyond, well, your normal accoutrements here.
Where are we going to find a ferry that's going to carry us all, though? They're very small.
So, and I'll leave you to explain this one. I'm going to get some rest before it's too late, as well, I'll be searching the docks for captains for hire tomorrow morning, and I'd recommend you all get some rest as well. Maybe a few days before our voyage, but, well, if my personal experience is anything, we won't be getting much rest on board. Selwyn's not wrong. If you've never been on a ship, it is a wholly unpleasant experience.
Oh, it will be wonderful, I'm sure.
It's so unfair.
It will be the complete embodiment of the wind and the waves at the same time. There is no land. Maybe if we're lucky, the Storm Lord himself will show up and we can get very windy, very wavy. It would be wonderful.
Bray, I'll say this right now. If you summon a storm while we're on that boat, I'll vomit my brains out, and once we're on good solid land, I will kill you.
And to that, Dynan interjects for a moment, passing by with a brief bit of his things and up on the roustabouts. I must say, though, as Arceti, at least as I've known them, have never been much for piety. I've heard precious few tales of gods interfering with mortal lives and ended well. I think we'd all be well praying that the wind and the waves wants nothing to do with our journey.
Well, I know this. I just sometimes I like to see the power, you know?
And apologize for interjecting then. I've
No,
never
no,
been
it's fine.
much to pick up well on sarcasm or irony.
It wasn't either, I promise you.
You don't get a charge from it. You don't feel it when
The last time we interacted
Oh, I
with the wind
feel
and
it.
the
the
waves,
storm starts to brew, the electricity in the air. You don't get a feeling.
I do, it's called a churning in my stomach.
No.
the last time we interacted with the wind and the waves, Zerg almost fell off a cliff and almost got blown away.
Almost.
Yeah, I don't want to almost do it again.
This is also preference of mine to not almost do this again.
I like smooth sailing.
Well,
Preferably.
it will probably be smooth.
Plus, if we get hit by the wind and the waves, it'll upset the animals and most of our friends. Smooth sailing. Pray for smooth sailing.
It will be smooth.
Wind and waves after we hit shore.
I hate boats.
Well,
it's been lovely. If you need me, I'll be in my cabin crying, and I'll leave.
Wait, Selwyn, did you really smash the bottle in someone's head in a bar?
I don't think I have to answer that question.
Well,
As I
I'm
head out.
they're okay.
so as the performers and everyone filter back out to your various wagons and cabins and trailers to rest for the evening, rest you do. Victorious not only against the menagerie directly, but also having managed pretty spectacularly in your final show here in Escadar. You awake in the following morning, even as the sun is just starting to crest over the edge of this valley. To be fair, in this valley you're set in, you probably don't really properly see the sun until it's like 10 in the morning, just kind of the ambient light of the world, because you sort of have the big cliff side to your east. But even before the light has begun to think about touching this canyon, The massive canvas of the big top has come down, and all the various setups for the sideshows and the ticket booths and everything in the front are well underway being deconstructed. The main posts of the canopy itself are the last things to go. It'll take them at least the entirety of the day to get everything taken care of. It seems, if the professor is successful in organizing the venture across the seas, that this may well be your last day in Escadar. Is there anything anyone wants from this fine and hospitable city?
Wave goodbye as we go. That's a good one.
Pretty much.
Get me the fuck out of here.
Even if it's by boat.
No, honestly, death is a preferable alternative to what we're gonna experience.
Tulip would certainly come by sometime relatively early to find Selwyn to sit down and impart some of her ranger training. And though it's not, it's just the Pathfinders. Well, I guess it is actually you. You know, I keep memeing you guys for your just reckless murder hoboing at this menagerie grounds, but you didn't really actually murder that many people. It's pretty much just the guys.
Very few, actually.
Just
Yeah.
the guys at the front who just drew the really short stick.
We didn't even murder her with a fucking goat. Like,
Yeah,
he's
even
still
the
alive.
goat is still alive. It's literally the guy at the gate who just happened to get the brunt of the goat-based wrath and got very, very swiftly murdered to death. But, her intention and what the Pathfinders have imparted onto her largely is to try to avoid loss of life and bloodshed where necessary. And where a demonstration of skill frequently is enough to put various thugs, bandits, or even just lower-tier mercenaries who are more bravado than actual combat skill in their place and avoid a fight. She will absolutely be able to retrain you in a feat the year after.
Yep. Mhm.
Over the
That'll be a
course
surprise
of
for
the
a chat.
voyage in the coming days.
Obviously, people can figure it out, but you know.
Probably not impossible to put together. I would say sizable hints have been dropped, but we'll leave at least a little mystery. Now, Asha, with her gigantic mammoth, would be having some degree of difficulty kind of setting in with the group here, with the new circus, because she doesn't have her own personal wagon, and she has a huge animal that needs to be kept somewhere. And after spending the evening just kind of out near the pen for your existing elephant with Gigi just lowered down, kind of sleeping in the grass, and Ashardalok herself just sleeping kind of with the mammoth, she would come find Zerg in the morning. Zerg! I cannot find small things. She is hard to see in crowd. I come to you. We have problem.
Hold on. Slow down. Small things. You mean Selwyn?
Yes, not no.
We are many.
It is most of the party, to be fair. That gnome that you answered to. That, with the red and black clothing that she never seems to change.
Yes, this one. It's very loud. What? Yes?
We need place
Selwyn
for
is-
Gigi if we are to stay with Circus, and beyond that, I need a place as well. I have no wagon of my own. Do you stay in this one alone?
Definitely not alone in this wagon. Definitely not. I would offer to share, but he's kind of busy in there now, and busy in there often, if you know what I'm talking about. You understand this. You're not staying here, no. Not going to happen. Let's go find Selwyn. Let's go. I'll come for you, and I'll just sort of like sloop. I open the door completely naked. Sorry.
Of course you do.
Slipping it back on, like, all right, let's go for
Whether
it.
her mental ability is just over the top, where she truly has no interest, her eyes do not even for a single moment glance downward. But as you open this, just absolutely shameless. This, do you share your act with others then, Zerg?
Not so much. No, it's a one-man show for the time being. Yes.
And she just kind of gestures to Bardolph's wagon, the bear who just lives in there. Your circus seems to sort wagons and carts by act. Who could you possibly have with you? Who could match you in strength?
Oh, that's Ilva. We haven't made it official or anything, but like vague hand movements of like.
Is Ilva there at the moment? Is Ilva actively in your wagon?
Yes, I assume so. And we are standing in the door of the wagon.
I do only have the token, so just like, hello, just kind of back there, realizing she's coming up, and did Asha. While she does not glance at all at the nude form of Zerg the Magnificent, she would kind of crane her neck to look past you to see who else could possibly be in here. Just kind of raise an eyebrow. I don't understand.
It's the orcish word for like fucking, basically. whatever that happens to be. This.
And so she too would kind of drop into orcish. Are you serious? She is small and pale. I could spear her in the ground like a flag.
That's what I do.
Oh my god.
Oh, nay.
I'm laughing.
I'm the
doesn't find this amusing.
It's pretty good. Trust me. It's very surprising for me also.
And still in orcish. Let's kind of glance again towards past you in the wagon. I believe that you can never know your fellow man as purely as by fighting them. And I had believed, it seemed, you possessed great strength, Zerg. But you answer to this tiny gnome. You lay with this pale thing.
I'm gonna punch Asher in the head.
She'll just take it. She won't fight back. She'll just like take the hit.
It's an orc thing. It's an orc thing.
No, yeah, she will immediately reply to orc. That is fair. I deserve this. But I simply do not understand you, Zerg.
A very confusing person. I've been through a lot. A very, very complex character. That is Zerg. Bone Fizbetsky. They're going to write stories about me. I'm very interesting. I'm very tired. Let's go find the little thing.
Yes.
Elwyn.
Right. Perhaps. I still need a place to stay, and Gigi needs fed. She eats as much as... She just kind of looks to your horses and oxen. Well, you do actually have an elephant. Admittedly, I'm unfamiliar, but they look similar. It may eat as much.
I forgot we have this.
Wander.
I was wondering what that sound was in the morning, the loud.
You don't have roosters, you just have an elephant trumpeting.
That makes sense now in hindsight. I understand this.
Hungry elephant noises in the distance. As a matter of fact, you would have a couple of other housing things to deal with, but largely that could be sorted by the professor probably when he comes back from his trip in town. Your circus has been pretty wildly profitable, and the numbers I give you at the end of how much you have, 73 gold I believe in the last show, is your like after expenses profit. It's what you have to spend just on show improvements, on confections and beer and merch and whatever it is you want to do to promote your show, advertisements. But the circus makes a lot more than that. You are a very profitable operation here. And things like getting more wagons from a local Wainwright and Escadar for your new acts, chartering these ships out to the Isle of Kortos, that's all handled by the bulk of the income. The money required to continue running the show and the circus is largely just assumed to be taken care of by the rest of that. And this 73 gold is really just the top of it. You do make pretty good money here. You are a spectacular goddamn circus by this point. Cookie, Arabus, Ara, is there anything you're particularly interested in?
Actually, Ara is wanting to take the time to start retraining. So he's not really doing anything.
So what are you trying to do? Because you do need somebody to help you do a retrainer. You need someone that can teach you the thing you want to know.
I'm trying to replace the class feat.
Yours is going to be a little tougher. Is it I mean, it's a class feat. Is it a heavily magically related class feat?
It's going to be getting rid of the dedication feat I took. I want to get rid of that and just take a cross-blooded evolution. I think.
Okay. We can I could see that one specifically because that's not really you learning anything so much as, I mean, you're a sorcerer and sorcerer power is gonna sorcerate. As you're working to unlearn whatever, I don't even know what dedication you have, honestly. I didn't know you had a dedication.
Talisman Dower.
Oh, you were gonna do the talisman stuff.
Yeah.
The flighty whims of Ara have gone elsewhere. You start looking around trying to investigate more of your own personal power. Which, well, is pretty difficult for a sorcerer. You can only do so much with your own blood and your own history. And what you need for this almost is less of another sorcerer, and more perhaps an alchemist.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I know where this is going.
Oh boy.
So in your investigations, at some point, finding your way to possibly an alchemical solution, Sniggles, along with the rest of his Warren, would still be well back in the cave where you dealt with Kuno, that bar guest. He would be very interested in this prospect. So tell me what exactly it is you want to do.
Well, I'm trying to completely forget one thing and completely learn something different.
Well, I think forgetting things is easy. You usually just need alcohol. Learning different things is harder.
I can't drink alcohol. This motion towards my lack of a mouth.
Kind of like
And I don't
leans
have a
in and
root
looks at
system.
it, like reaches up with one little paw, and just taps his claw where your mouth should be.
You don't need things. Wait.
Nope.
You don't have a mouth.
Nope.
When you talk, how do I hear you?
Well, there's a very interesting solution to that, and I start speaking a lot of words in Sylvan very, very fast.
Oh.
Yeah, like that.
Was I supposed to understand that? Because it sounded like it was a different language.
Oh, it was a completely different language.
I don't know that language.
Well, it's hard to explain. I don't have the right words for it in common.
Okay, fair enough. So, let me think.
And you sit down with him, and Sniggle starts scheming and planning, trying to come up with a way. Because cross-blooded evolution is like literally unlocking a power of your own native bloodline. It's not even necessarily. It's just something that would you need to kind of develop. And he starts scheming what he can do alchemically, what he can figure out, how we can make this work, and making some plans for you. Arbus, you, at some point, as Zerg and Selwyn are trying to figure out various arrangements for people and all that, you would be approached by someone that you perhaps don't really talk to that often, that you haven't really given a whole lot of time to, which is Julessa. one of the flambonis. Arubis.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Sorry, I don't mean to bother you, but Selwyn seems very busy figuring out arrangements for all the new acts and everything, and he's very overwhelmed by the whole boat thing. But
Oh, yes.
I don't know, the professors in town, I wasn't sure who else to ask. Are we really heading out to the Swordlands?
I believe that is the plan, yes? Is there a problem with this?
No, certainly not a problem. I was actually hoping that, I don't want to pry or intrude here. I don't want to, I don't know how to run things at all, of course, but, Tamiri and I, as far as we know, we don't have any living family. But we have something close like it, anyway. Do you? Never mind. The story is long and unnecessary.
No. Go ahead. It's fine. Go ahead.
Well,
Please do not hold back.
We got picked up with the menagerie when we had nowhere else to go, really. We'd only ever been entertainers. Ever since we were young, we didn't know how to do much else. And, it's because my sister and I, as far back as we can remember before the menagerie anyway, we were bought, or I guess sold is the correct word.
To the menagerie.
No, to a wealthy merchant family that owns some of the docks here, owns a shipping company. But he had to do away with us when they outlawed slavery some years back. But that got us kicked out, but that didn't give us anywhere to go. But we weren't the only ones. We weren't the only ones there. Tamiri and I made our way to the menagerie and took what arts and skills we had to help entertain Dusklight and her acts. But there was another man who worked with us, Ichabod. And to my understanding, I don't know how, but he'd gotten some coin together, and he had a plan to head off this island entirely. He wanted to abandon Escadar. He didn't want to stay here. He went to a town called Matin Cleave. It's in the Swadlands. I'm just asking, not for us to go there, of course. We the whole circus need to go somewhere just so I can see someone that I haven't seen in most of my life. But if we're near there, can Tamiri and I, if we're not going to be part of a show, can?
Is this person important to you?
He's the closest we have to family, really. I just want to see how he's getting on.
Family is very important. We should definitely we will make this happen for you. I will talk to Salomon and we will get this done.
So many people are gonna talk to me.
Someone's gonna have a very busy day, apparently.
Yeah.
I don't right know where we're going in the Swordlands, but from what I know of Ichabod's plans back in the day, I imagine we'll end up in Carrick, probably. It's the main port. If we're not circling the whole island to Absalom or Diablo. It's not far from Carrick, only a day's journey, maybe two. We can make it ourselves.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
we're not going to abandon the circus, of course.
I'm sure we will come with you. I'm sure the wind will guide our ways. It won't be a problem. I don't see this. It brought you to me. You are here in front of me because it is supposed to happen.
Well, I don't want to be rude to you, Arbus. You've all been nothing but nice to me. But a lot of things that are supposed to happen, it doesn't mean they do.
That's why you have to believe they will.
Right. I won't keep you. I got things to pack, and me and Tamir gotta get our wagons ready. But thank you.
Oh, sure. Anytime you need to talk, I will be here. Masako and Shiel, they're happy to see you.
And even as you're saying goodbye, also ending this, she's already kind of like inching away, nodding like she's embarrassed for having even brought this before you. Cookie, what are you doing? I know you don't have a lot to pack, really. You don't got a lot of stuff here. What is your day here?
Well, after cooking everybody breakfast and trying to make rounds to make sure everybody's fed, help out with some of the animals, probably by about lunchtime, I'm going to sneak back to where the cages were kept, where a lot of the sideshows and acts and things like that were essentially
Back over
locked
the menagerie
away.
grounds?
Back over at the menagerie grounds.
Yeah. It would be an absolute ghost town by the time you get over there. The front gates would have a pretty hefty iron chain that was just wrapped around them and locked with a hefty padlock. But it's, not a terribly difficult task for you to just kind of clamber over the whole thing. And in front of that, there would be a sign on thin wood, kind of staked into the ground. Keep out. Ongoing investigation. But once you get inside, there would be absolutely nobody visible anywhere.
All right, I can do this. And I'm going to go over to where my cage was and try to wrest it from the pile and pull it down.
And if you get you go into this back area here, following down through these tunnels to where the stuff was kept, and you would find as you reach maybe a passageway before you'd get to where your actual cages were, you would hear a voice in there, and you're not actually completely alone. And you would recognize Martin, the sideshow juggler that you'd gotten out of his own, admittedly larger and nicer cage, kind of muttering to himself off in a side room.
I'll abandon my current thing and I'll go over to where he is. I won't hide. I'll be humming something like a shanty or something to make sure that I'm like not spooking him.
But even so, he's pretty focused. He doesn't notice until you really come to the doorway and just starts and turns around. I thought for a moment there you were gonna be one of the constables and I was gonna be going from one cage to the next. Cookie, what? Well, that was kind of a pointless question when you can ask me the same thing by and large. But what in the hells are you doing back here?
Well, I wanted to seal up an old loose end, I guess. It's the first time in the last couple of days I've actually laid down in a bed and used a pillow and a blanket. And I honestly don't know if I'm still sleeping right. It feels weird when you're in a cage all your life.
Yeah, you sure had it a damn sight worse than we did. I'm just looking for Vertog's medicine. You saw him. He was the bat boy, they called him. I don't right know what to do with him, honestly, because even if I can find more in here, it's only going to be so much. You probably wouldn't be knowing where they kept anything. They gotta have more of this stuff here somewhere. Hey, don't I imagine you saw the sign too. Well, how about you don't tell nobody you saw me back here, and I won't tell nobody that I saw you. Call it a deal?
That's a deal. How about I help you look for this here medicine you're talking about?
Nah, you got your own stuff you're after. That's real kind of you, and I'm not sure appreciate it, but it ain't necessary.
Hey, it ain't necessary, but we've both been through enough. Let's get him some help.
Yeah, we ain't been through half as much as Vertog has. You saw him, right? You saw what he looks like. That ain't how he looked when he came in. You know how much they did to him? First year he was here, and I only been here. I heard this told to me largely from Miss Ilaru across from me. He already had it largely done when I showed up. He's an orc boy. Looked a whole lot like Zerg or Shardalak, just deeper skin. He kind of naturally had that bit of purple. The worst thing he had with him was a cleft palate, but as Dusklight saw that as an opportunity, and I spent months taking him out and, well, doing stuff to make him look like that just so we could be an attraction. I ain't looking for medicine here, Cookie. You ought to get going to your thing.
I do want to help. All I'm doing is I'm taking a cage and I'm gonna chuck it in a place where I can see it burn.
Well, I suppose I'm doing much the same. Look, Dusklight's ruined a lot of lives, and Bertog ain't got nothing for him. He can barely talk. If he's even awake between the drugs, he's just in agony. They didn't kill him with what they did, but they got damn close. And I know that there's a variety of things that Dusklight kept to keep her crew in line. And, I think there's the best I can do for him is, wait, Cookie? And he just kind of stops and sits down and puts his head in his hands.
I'll go over and sit next to him.
It ain't my place to make choices for someone else's life, and I shouldn't be doing it, but what the hell is he gonna do? He can barely move, with all the surgeries and skin grafting they've been forcing on him. That ain't no life, is it?
Not what the cat did to him, no, but think about it. We got a new opportunity to get him help that he deserves. We got one of the feistiest, most rambunctious rat folk alchemists I've ever seen in my life. If there's anybody who could mix anything by shaking it in a bottle, it'd be Sniggles. And if there's anybody who knows how to help have healing hands, it's Erebus. I gotta tell you, when you see a noggin like this and you see a horn like this, I've taken a lot of punches to the face. and she's come over and she's just like, "Oh, Cookie, you're all right. You're just small." And she helps take care of me, and she's probably looking after Mordain after that stunt that I did. I should probably hide from her for another day.
Well, I don't right know the history of your own show, of course. I'm new to the whole thing, but I ain't never seen a bigger grin on Selwyn's face than when that was going on.
Well, I guess Selwyn did say we had to all do an act, but I'm just a cook.
Yeah. And I ain't never done much but, get set on fire. This Shulkin thing's a lot nicer, I'll tell you what, but I feel like it ain't half the show that Well, half of you guys can put on. Hell, it's like you're in an entirely different league than anything I can do. I'm just flipping a couple knives.
Well, but the thing is you're a part of us now. I like to think that when Selwyn looked at me and she said, "You want a job?" and I said, "Yeah," I had an actual family now. And that means that since she looked at you and asked if you wanted a job and you said, "Yeah," that you're a part of us too. So it ain't just flipping a knife. You're Molten Martin, the fire knife juggling man.
Just kind of those little, like, almost sarcastic jazz hands. Molten Martin. The best I could come up with on short notice, anyway. Well, you're right. That sideshow here is the closest thing I got to family, and with Dusklight out of the picture, Sada didn't want nothing to do with any of us, and took off near immediately. I hope she was doing well, but she just wanted out. As far as I can tell, kind of hard to put together what she's saying. But I don't know what happened with Carmine and Zerg and her sister, but it looked like she took her bag and went home too, wherever she calls home. It was kind of just me and Vertog left, and you're right. I don't know nothing about alchemy. I don't know nothing about what happened to him. I was at my place. You know, you call it fate you came along when you did then, Cookie. We'll talk to Sniggles about it. That makes a right leg more sense than anything I was thinking. Let's go find your cage. I'll follow along. I don't know nothing about this area back here. I'm just a blind man scrabbling through the dark.
Well, lucky for me, I can see in the dark, so I'll share for the both of us. Go back over to where my cage was. And just hoist it down and like, all right, so I guess we just go back the way we came. I don't think anybody's really doing any investigating right now. Besides, I hate this place. Let's leave.
That ain't a cage, that's a damn kennel. Kid, you in that thing?
Well, a good portion of us, if we were short, could fit, and was economical, yeah.
Yeah, he's
This
just
is
kind of
what I
looking
called
around
home.
the room at like the racks of these little cages. Hell, I thought we had it bad. I don't know damn half of it. All right, well, if you want to set it on fire, I mean, I can. That's something I can definitely do, safely at least.
Well, let's get out of these grounds, and I want that to be my final goodbye, and then let's get a new start on helping.
You want me to carry that? That's no. I'm sure you can manage it, but I mean that's a fair sight bigger than you are.
I dealt with the weight of being in it. I can deal with the weight of carrying it for just a minute longer.
All right, Cookie. Well, I'll follow you wherever it is you want to go. I'm done here.
So we'll just leave out of the grounds, just kind of go off to the side where there's a spot where I won't accidentally catch the rest of the woods or anything on fire, and set it down, fold my arms, take a look at it, just, would you do it with this? And I'll actually hand him the chopping knife and let him coat it and throw it if he wants to.
You know what? I thought you had some attachment to this here knife. Isn't this yours?
I do have attachment to it, but I mean, surely a magical dagger ain't gonna explode in a fire. Or at the very least, maybe you can use it to light the tinder.
Oh, is this thing magic? Is it gonna do something? I gotta say any fancy words over this?
Nope, it's just really good at chopping. One of my other parting gifts from Tyra.
Well, fair enough. And he'd take some out of just oil, supplies you could easily grab from the menagerie grounds, just kind of dump it around this cage. Set the knife on fire in his hand and just toss it into the cage. Send the whole thing alight just a little ways out of town. Leaving your cage burning, your knife gleaming in the middle of it. It's gonna be totally unharmed, of course. Fire isn't gonna hurt this thing.
Once it's burned down and ashes, then just wrap my hand up in some kind of cloth and reach in, grab the handle and pull it back up. I think maybe now I can finally sleep.
Well, from what I'm hearing, that's something we're gonna be wanting to do tonight. They're making this ship thing sound awful. It can't possibly be that bad. Just getting on a boat. Don't people do this day in and day out as a living?
Well, yeah, people do it in and day out, but how many times have you been on a boat?
Yeah, well, how many times have I done lots of things? It's not like I gotta sail the boat. We're just getting carried along, aren't we?
Oh, that's true. Do you know if I'm supposed to make something special on a boat, like a mango or something?
I ain't never been on a boat. I grew up in an orphanage here in town, and then I was at the menagerie ever since. I ain't know nothing else.
Oh, well, everybody's just gonna get what I cook then.
So, the day passing with a lot of work for Selwyn to have to organize a whole lot of various things here, sorting out arrangements and new wagons for a wide assortment of new circus family here. But around the evening time, the professor would come back in an hour or so before sundown and find the group of you. Well, good news, everyone. I found a boat. 2 boats, as a matter of fact. Turns out ferries are substantially larger than I gave them credit for, and that should be more than enough to haul us a few dozen wagons, a pair of elephants now. Is that thing a Charlotte has actually an elephant, or?
It's a mammoth.
It is a mammoth, yes.
No, is
It's
that
a mammoth.
kind of elephant? Because it just looks like a hairy elephant.
It's a primordial elephant.
It's a hairy elephant.
Yes. Yes.
Fair enough. And the good news is, as long as we can get our things packed and be down there, around noon tomorrow, we should be able to load up, and, what's the thing that they say? We can avast the anchor before sundown.
I've never heard that before in my life.
That's,
That sounds right.
it sounds right to me. It's something like that. The journey apparently will take us through the evening. He said that it'll be smoother waters at night and that there will be less traffic getting in and out of the Escadar harbor. We'll be, well, sailing through Star Day, and we should be arriving bright and early Sunday morning.
Sounds easy enough.
I am excited for this.
I'm excited too.
He's very explicitly kind of looking down to Selwyn here as he says this.
I'm wiping my tears from my eyes.
Now, I spoke with them at some length about your problem, Selwyn, and he gave me a better suggestion than the peanut butter. It's good that I did ask him, because he said that was actually a terrible idea. What you should do, hold on, and he rustles around his pockets and brings out a small package that's just like a paper wrapped little square about an inch or so across, tied with a thin, just brown twine. Ah, there it is, and hands it down to you.
All right, I'll bite. What's this?
Oh, and bite you shall. That's the accurate wording. I'm not entirely positive, but he said that if you take a small piece of that whenever you start to feel the seasickness rising and chew on it, it'll dull the overwhelming sense of nausea.
All right, I shall.
If you open it up, it's a small little white, like off-white square that feels kind of almost like a putty. Now it's I'm not entirely sure how the thing is going to taste, but by his word, it's just the actual motion of the chewing that somehow rests your innards. I don't know, but he seemed like he knew what he was talking about, so I took his word for it.
Sounds like magic. You could trust it, Selwyn.
I don't think it's magic so much. It's just
That make a lot of sense to me.
old sailor harbor secrets. Well, I suppose
Well, you've one last evening to get your things in order, make sure everything's properly packed. I see the main canopy poles have come down already and have been loaded up properly. Well, we'll be heading out tomorrow afternoon. And I sincerely hope this, well, whatever it is, helps with your problem solving. Hopefully it'll be enough for the whole voyage. He said you didn't need too much, maybe only about enough to smear across your thumb at a time. So just kind of twist pieces off of it. Anyway, best of luck. I'm going to get an evening's rest, as sleeping on a ship is going to be, well, difficult at best, especially the first night. Will be the difficulty, I suppose, of leaving in the evening, but it was significantly cheaper, so good news.
That is good news.
And he would leave you to finish your organization, whatever it is you need to do to get the rest of your things together. And rest one final evening, as this fire day, the wagons are moving. We are getting the show back together, getting everything organized, and rolling. The procession that just continues to get larger of colorful wagons trained through the streets of Escadar one last time down to the harbors. Now, moving the circus is an absolute production to get going. Even if everything is as packed and as ready as it can be in advance, it's just dozens upon dozens of people, at least a dozen wagons, tons of supplies, heaps of animals. It's a nightmare at the best of times. But not too long before noon, the Circus of Wayward Wonders is arranged at the docks of Escadar, loading their wagons onto a couple of massive, flat-decked barges. The pair of them seem to be owned by one admiral who is loading his ships to us, each captained and sailed by very experienced crew. That the professor insists were to worry not Selwyn, as they were the cheapest ones available.
Oh boy.
That makes someone happy.
It makes me happy, but it makes me sad.
Someone loves saving money.
I love saving money, but I hate being seasick.
And with a few more hours of loading wagons, animals who very much are not interested in walking up a relatively narrow gangplank onto the deck of a ship to be corralled in a pen, even as it just bobs in the harbor here. He's not wrong. It's nearly sundown before the two ships are ready to cast off from the docks and head out into the seas. And thus... What?
As I walk up the gangplank, I'll turn to you. Anyone else feel déjà vu?
What?
Anyone else feeling déjà vu?
What is that?
Well, it feels like we've been here before.
How could we have been here before? I don't think.
Whatever. I'll go up with the
Okay.
And underway. The ships weigh off and head out of the harbor into the seas as the sun sinks towards the horizon. Why don't you all make me some fortitude saves?
I call plant immunity.
I call plant immunity. Well, you don't have a stomach. You don't eat.
Can I stay on the boat? My die just rolled off the table.
Oh my god.
He calls plant immunity.
Plant immunity.
I rolled a 20?
Dude.
You rolled a 20, yeah?
My die completely rolled off screen.
What the fuck is these rolls?
You rolled a... You guys...
Look at these.
What absolute bangers!
Units,
Alright.
all of us.
The 17 is the lowest in those 4 fortitude saves on the die.
Maybe I will hero point a high roll.
Yeah, just for the flavor. I love
Let's
it.
do that one, Selwyn.
Hero point.
What the? Alright. Do a session
Hero
reroll.
point.
Session reroll.
Such a reroll. I love
It's
it.
gotta be lower.
Much
There
better.
it is.
Much better.
Yeah, Can I voluntarily just fail?
Yeah, you
That's
can,
still
you
too
can,
high.
For
you
flavor.
can volunteer with 9 on the die.
Yeah.
As you cast out to seas, between I guess, just the general leshitude of Ara, the fact that Barkbeard, who's still being carted around,
Leshitude.
appears to just be a regular tree again. Zerg's just incredible fortitude. Maybe, in fact, Arvis's piety and Cookie. God knows why you don't seem to be bothered. None of you are really positive what all this hoopla about seasickness and going on board a ship is all about. You all feel absolutely fine. The rest of your group, a lot of your Selwyn particularly, and a lot of your new Circus family, not so much. Martin, particularly, as well as the Flamboni sisters and the 5 of the Dwarven Throwers. The Dwarven Throwers are going to be earning an entirely new variant of their name at this point over the course of this journey.
Dwarven throw-ups.
Yikes.
The Featherfall 5 are doing the best they can to calm their children, who usually with their life in the circus have dealt with much worse and are very well behaved, but oh man, they are not happy about this. Mordain has largely just devolved into swearing and cursing death upon anybody who comes anywhere near her by the first hour of the voyage, as she just sits curled up, pouting in the most isolated corner she can find, with Anzu constantly running buckets for her. Sniggles, standing as near the bow of the ship as the crew will allow him, a constant nuisance, near always in the way after having been yelled at repeatedly to get the hell away from the rigging, really just wants to be as close to the front as possible to, see all of the boat stuff that's happening, and seems very excited about this. The rest of your crew handles it at least decently, though Miss Dancer notably absolutely refuses to stay on the ship for more than like an hour before he takes off and just flies alongside it, much to the delight and the amusement of the crew, who are perfectly happy to pretty much get a free fucking show here as they sail you down to the Kortos Isle. The evening passes without incident, as does the following day. And, admittedly, by the time Sunday morning has come around, you've largely acclimated to at least some extent. Even those who felt it the worst will be feeling better. It's entirely possible that some of you may not eat anything in the entirety of this journey, but it's not a constant just show of misery like the first night is. Or even those of you who seek the best of this, or who feel the best of this, probably aren't getting a whole lot of sleep as the ship rocks and rolls, staffed enough to move through the night, though it is not making quite as quick of a clip. But Sunday morning, having left the Isle of Erran behind you the prior evening, or the prior morning rather, and even Starday night, the massive Kortos Isle would come into view. And it truly, absolutely dwarfs the isle you came from. I don't have a world map because it wasn't relevant, so I didn't think to set one up in Foundry to show you beforehand. But the Kortos Isle is probably 100 times the size of the Isle of Erran, which has been the entirety of your journey. And show of hands, who of any of you have been off of that island in your lives? Have any of you? Selwyn.
Yep. In a lot of places.
Who knows?
Not 100% one way or the other.
That's fair. And Barkbeard, of course, was a tree. It just sat there until a month ago. Before too long, around 10 or so in the afternoon, the ship would be pulling in to an incredibly busy, raucous dock.
Someone stop that noise!
You can hear the sound and the noise before the dock has even made it, the ship has even made its way all the way into the harbor. Those of you who, not Selwyn, who haven't been off the Isle of Erran before, this would be absolutely like nothing any of you have ever seen. The docks themselves, just the actual ports and harbors, absolutely dwarf the entire city of Escadar. No contest whatsoever. And the town rolling out behind them, surprisingly, looks oddly small. As if the entirety of the city is just loaded into these piers and docks. But dock, the ship does, in the process of, well, dealing with a new area and dealing with what exactly you're going to do with the entirety of a circus who couldn't possibly have contacted anyone here to arrange a place to stay in advance. Well, welcome, everyone, to the Swordlands. You are arriving here, in the city of Carrick.
Oh, that's so nice.
Who has at least trained in society and wants to throw d20s for some
Boy, that
knowledge?
comes up a lot. As
I
usual.
want to throw it
I don't have
in.
it.
I love being trained in society.
I
I do
love not
too.
having it.
Just a normal roll?
Yeah, just normal. You can just open roll it.
24. You're off, asshole.
Untrained idiot.
Yeah.
I'm trained. I'm trained in society.
Oh, you are actually trained. I thought that was your untrained improvisation.
No,
So,
I'm actually trained. I'm just an idiot.
Fair. Ara and Cookie, you've probably heard of the Swordlands before. You would know that it is a large area that occupies a decent chunk of the Isle of Kortos. You would also perhaps have heard of Carrick, in that it is just a major port. Certainly the name would have been mentioned in Escadar by various folks, especially on the docks, and you definitely would have heard it as part of the voyage over here. Selwyn, you would be the only one who really knows anything about the region. The most predominant feature of Kortos, obviously, is Absalom, the city at the center of the world, so it's called. The Swordlands, and by extension, Carrick, are not that. The city at the center of the world, with its massive population, requires a massive amount of food and resources to continue to exist as it is. And certainly in Absalom and even in the nearby surrounding areas, there's not a lot of farmland. It's all developed, it's all urban, it's all massive stone works of, well, economy. The Swordlands is the answer to that. This is the breadbasket of the island. This is a huge expanse of farmland, and there is a scale at the bottom for anyone curious who didn't notice it. This is a huge expanse of farmland, and this here would be a plain enough map that any of you would easily have been able to acquire, and Professor probably would even have to show you before you would come here, denoting its various major settlements. And as he goes over this with you, Selwyn, you would know that Carrick, while it is denoted as the region's capital, is only the capital in the sense that it is the major port that most of the goods from the Swordlands going out and most of the goods from Diobel and Absalom are coming in. So I just guess by point of location, it has the most sway. But as far as you know, there's not really there's not a baron or a duke in Carrick or anything. There's no single person or even body that really governs over this collection of assorted farming settlements. And I will unlock this scene because I can do that.
Thanks, Foundry.
In Foundry, so that any of you may witness this map whenever you have any kind of questions or want to reference anything. So just to double check I did this right. Can any of you now freely move to and from this map as you see fit?
Yes.
I see a
Yes.
couple of you doing it up there. Neato. So you should have access to the Book 3 cover art, and this Swartlands map, and the big top. And Fintrovert coming in with the host. Thank you, comrade. Appreciate it. Welcome. We've just arrived. You're just in time. So the professor, as you are all moving to disembark the ship here, is going to come find, at the very least, Selwyn, but probably, I mean, you're all on a boat together. No one can really be too far.
Well, that wasn't too terrible, was it? You can't possibly tell me you're still sick after all of that.
He's been throwing up this entire time.
She's just being a baby. It was wonderful.
I don't understand how there could possibly still be anything inside you. I haven't seen you eat the whole voyage.
It's probably magic. I'm just rubbing someone's back.
No, don't touch me.
I'm just going to keep touching someone.
No, don't touch me.
Well, here is going to be the interesting part of the journey. Voyage notwithstanding, we are going to need to find a place to stay here in Carrick. I'll stay here and I'll oversee the unloading and everything, and I believe that, and as he points down to a man who is already approaching the pair of ferries, looks relatively official looking, and you can see he has a large pendant with a golden set of scales emblazoned on it, approaching, is probably the dockmaster.
Dockmaster.
If he requires payment, then can you handle that, and we'll level the circus funds as needed afterwards. And please try to find us a place to unload to. I imagine he won't be terribly happy about us leaving a dozen wagons on a pier. Besides, we probably shouldn't do that for a wide variety of other reasons. Selwyn? Are you okay?
No. Not only do I have to pay, I also have to be sick.
Well, he kind of looks at the rest of the group, considering his options of who else he could possibly lay this on. Looks down at the tiny cooking lizard, the stick without a mouth, and Arvis and Zerg. Kind of looks back and forth between the pair of them.
I'll do it.
Oh, Cookie. Well, at least help Selwyn, if you will. We need to get this handled before. Well, I imagine we can wait some hours, but we certainly we'd need a place to stay by nightfall, or, well, we're just going to have to take our wagons out to pasture, so to speak.
Yep, I can do that.
So, the group of you make your way down the gangplank towards the dockmaster. Before you even land on the pier, through the incredible amount of activity happening on this dock, so make no mistake, these two ferries are only two of the 24 massive ships making port here. And even as you're docking, numerous other ships are already coming and going this early in the morning. Through this, you see sailors, crewmen, what appears to be this dockmaster, and just a wide variety of all sorts working to load, unload, move cargo, massive stacks of crates around these docks, in and out of warehouses like so many ants, making their way what first seems random in near every direction. But one man stands pretty distinctively out from this. A man indeed, human of about middling height and equally middling age, with some, I'm gonna go with thinning, kind of salt and pepper hair, swept back, almost not so, what would appear to be careless, but looks pretty well manicured to give that appearance, above some pretty bushy eyebrows, big old mutton chops going most of the way down his cheek, and a very well-kept, neatly trimmed mustache, just kind of framed by all of that. There you go. Have a picture.
Yay.
he does
Yay.
have some oddly formal and kind of somber garb. Mostly dark colors and a long cloak near down to his ankles, hanging across his shoulders and even coming across his front most of the way down to his waist, that makes him stand like night and day out from the rest of the ship's crewmen and sailors making their way throughout the docks. And as he hurries forth, as well as he can, walking with a cane, but no real visible hobble, a fact that is immediately amplified by as he sees the group of you coming to the pier, he catches your gaze and raises the cane to hail you with it as he continues walking along. He hurries up, pushing his way alongside the dockmaster before putting a hand on the dockmaster's shoulder, nodding and whispering something to him. The dockmaster turns, raises an eyebrow, shrugs, and heads back towards the warehouses, away from the ship. I'll give you come down. This man, walking cane down, other arm out wide, almost as if to do an embrace. Ah, welcome! Welcome down. Welcome to Carrick. You must be the Circus of Wayward Wonders. I've heard so much about.
That's us. How'd you hear about us?
We're famous.
You've put on quite an impressive show, I hear, out in Escadar, and the words have traveled not just the streets, but the shipping lanes themselves. We heard of your coming, heard of your plans, and I get ahead of myself here. My name's Gulfin Gregate, master of the Carrick Range, and, well, mortician to the good people of Carrick and its surroundings. And he steps forward with a hand outstretched to whoever is the closest.
Cookie will take his hand.
I would lean in and try to sniff it.
So as Cookie take his hand, he would give you a firm handshake, look you in the eyes, and as Arbus moves, he would turn and extend a hand to you as well. They're kind of sniffing it. He'd sort of turn it over like he's offering the back of his hand to a curious dog. Right, fair enough. And turn and offer his hand down the line to Selwyn. And each of you in turn, a firm handshake, eye contact, a nod, and a smile. So, by everything that I've heard about the coming of your fine circus here, I take it that you, my fine woman, may very well be the Selwyn in charge of the show. Is that right?
Yep, that's me.
Fantastic. And he kind of reaches up under his cloak and pulls out a small handkerchief of a dark red that matches the color of a boutonniere he has on his cloak, and mops his brow for a moment before packing it back in. As I said, I'd heard word from Escadar. I'm the head of local agricultural association here, and I thought, when I heard that you were coming, it sounded like an absolutely fantastic plan. A traveling circus, coming to Carrick, coming to the Grange and the Sword Lands. Couldn't think of anything better. It's exactly what the people need right now.
Right now, something happened.
Well, seasons haven't been terribly kind to us recently, and, well, the situation's, I would suppose, less than fantastic, but our problems certainly aren't yours. It's just good to say that the people are ready and very much willing for a good form of entertainment, and from what I've heard from my good folk at Escadar, entertainment you very much are.
Right.
Yeah, we're pretty good.
Pretty good, I think, is underselling yourselves, my good friends. I have heard you are an absolute must-see. The stars of the Escadar's skyline, so to speak. The stars in the very sky, even. And to my understanding, they have their very own, more permanent circus. Anyway, I think a chance for some good, wholesome, family entertainment might just be the thing to put the spring back in everyone's step. So, I've heard you're coming, and I hope this is not far too forward, but I've already made arrangements for your stay. If that's, well, welcomed, of course.
That is, I think that'd be good, don't you, Selwyn?
Yep. Sounds just fine.
We're a little tired from the trip, so if there's any chance we could put a quicken on this mosey.
No, I can very much understand. I've always had trouble with ships myself, much the same, and you've my condolences. I know that these journeys can truly be terrible. But I've already spoken with the dockmaster, and we already have hands on deck here to see to the unloading and temporary housing of your personnel, your wagons, your animals. All of that will be more than handled. Don't worry about it. Consider us all square just for the service you're doing by bringing your show to town. Now, if you will follow me off of the docks, and I am sure you are more than happy to put as much distance between yourselves and the ship as physically possible, I can lead you out to the market square on the outskirts. I think it'll be a fine situation for you to set up shop, so to speak.
We sure do appreciate it.
Very well then. Is there someone here that can work with the dockmaster to manage the unloading and everything?
Yeah, hey, Professor!
He said professors I just kind of poke up behind the railings of the ship.
No, not so
towards you.
worried. I'll do it.
Well, Selwyn, you kind of got to go with us because you're like the face of the thing. I mean, I think the professor can handle that. Don't you want to be away from the boat and the sloshing, waving waters?
No,
Slow side to side
stop. Yeah, you made your point. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And he looks up and sees the professor and hails him with his free hand as well, with a smile and a quick wave. And the professor looks down and just tilts his head and raises a hand. Ah, very well. How the dockmaster see to him then? He's the man we'll speak with to handle the unloading of everything, getting him off the pier here, right and proper, as quick as we can. Now, follow me if you will, and I'll be showing you to where, well, hopefully, if you like the situation, you'll be staying. And takes his walk through the pier and into the town of Carrick proper. And so as you travel, heading off of the pier and through some assorted warehouses and a particularly large tavern, emblazoned with the words "The Port Authority" above its door, with no actual sign in lieu of just a massive actual anchor hanging out off kind of to the side, rusted and crusted with all kinds of barnacles and assorted sea life. He leads you back through the town itself, away from the docks, and even within just a few hundred feet, the massive throng of work, people, hammering, banging, and sawing falls away behind you to be replaced with something that looks almost like an upscaled Aberton. A much simpler, more open town. And the sounds of banging replaced by the chirping and singing of birds scattered through the trees. As it's not nearly as packed, not nearly as cramped, there is still a pretty good amount of movement around. It strikes you, those you trained in society, that the size of this harbor is almost bigger than the actual accompanying city itself. But he takes you away from this to the edge of town, to a pretty large, open, dirt square. Almost like just an open and empty market square. Maybe about 80 yards across in any given direction. Just a big kind of hole near the edge of the city. And as you're walking over, and he's kind of focusing on making his way with his cane, but as he gets in sight, he points to it and turns back to the group of you. Now this here is a market square. We've had it here in Carrick for quite some time. It's for seasonal festivals, market fairs, all sorts of things. I hope that it's got enough space for you to put on your show and do your circus as you want to do. But if not, we can try to organize something larger or better than this, but I'm afraid it's going to be outside the bounds of the town itself if we're going to go that. Although, I've seen we've held quite some large harvest festivals here, and from what I've heard about your shows, and admittedly I don't know the specifics of your acts and the size of your tents and all that, I would hope this would be more than enough space for you.
Well, more than enough is...
And it looks like this is
better.
a big enough area that you have enough space not just to put your big top, but you could realistically run your whole operation out of here. You could fit all of your wagons, your animal pens, and pretty much everything.
Right, yeah, but obviously, no stage is ever grand enough, right?
Fine words from fine folk, I hope to see. And it explains how you've made such an impact on the people of Escadar and even those traveling in here with your simple shows. Now, these grounds here belong to the Carrot Grange, and as the current runner of the Grange, I've arranged these to be let out to your circus and the Circus of Wayward Wonders, it was, I believe, for a bargain price of 5 silver pieces a night. Unfortunately, I can't let you land for free, but it's fairly cheap accommodations, and I imagine much cheaper than any you would be hoping to find circling around yourselves.
Yeah, that sounds agreeable. And I assume that covers cost for putting on shows and all that.
Oh, of course. 5 silver pieces a night gives you the land. It gives you don't need to worry about any kind of permits or leases or liaisons or anything to do your performances. You are free to perform here and stay really as long as you wish and put on as many shows as you wish. The only caveat is that I would ask that you purchase your supplies and your labor locally. It doesn't have to necessarily be here from Carrick, but from the nearby Grange, if you will. And, of course, clean up after yourselves when you're done. Keep the grounds tidy and can't let them become an eyesore here on the edge of Carrick.
Yes. Nope. That sounds agreeable. Should be fine.
Now, I believe the dockmaster, as they're dealing with unloading things, should be more than capable of helping offshore the rest of your crew, your men, your fine folk, your performers, your wagons, your animals, everything else, and seeing them out to this spot here. And if there's any confusion, he turns and picks up his cane and points out to a fairly large manor, some distance away, but visible up on a bit of a hill from here. That there is my home, and I would hope that before I go, you would do me the honor. You five, I assume, are those who largely run the show here. If you would like to join me for dinner at my home later this evening.
Of course. That sounds.
Is there any chance that I can help cook that dinner?
Well, you certainly have no need to offer your services as such, my fine fellow, but if you wish to, of course, I'm not going to say no. I'll organize things with my servants.
Is there any chance I could help eat that dinner?
I very much hope you will.
Brilliant. Give
Now,
her a high five with Cookie.
High five.
I want to consider this just a brief celebration of your arrival. And I want to help you. I understand you're a traveling circus and you're not going to be staying here performing all your shows in Carrick. There's a good number of fine folk and a good number of fine settlements throughout the region. And I'd like to help you if I can. Perhaps setting up plans for your show as you're going forth. You can travel around, where might be some places worth visiting, and perhaps even some advice for you, if you will. Not to intrude, of course, on your own wisdom. Obviously, you've been running a show for some time, but just with the lay of the land and the whims of the people, if you will.
And with that, Cookie's gonna lean over and whisper to Selwyn real quick.
Hey, Selwyn, I think maybe he's trying to become one of them sponsors that I like to hear about sometimes.
Cookie, somehow I doubt that is the case. However, we keep our options open.
Now, I do apologize, but if there are any further questions, I'm afraid you'll have to wait until dinner unless you can get them out very quickly, as I have much to attend to today. Running the Grange is healthy, great, and hungry business, but it does require a firm hand sometimes in many places. And besides, my other culling unfortunately dulls my evening, so I need to make preparations for the viewing as well. Best of luck to the rest of you. If you have any questions, of course, you can find me up at the home. You can ask the dockmaster. I've made sure that everything should largely be in order. And if anyone on that dock asks for a penny unloading these things, you ensure them the Grange has it covered.
Okay.
Very well then. Pleasant evening, and I hope you very much enjoy your stay in Carrick. And with a final smile and nod of his head, he turns and makes his way down the road out towards his home.
It seems like a chipper man for somebody who hangs out with dead people all day.
He talks fast like Selwyn. It's hard to keep up.
Is it? I don't talk that fast.
You talk pretty fast at times when you do the circus.
It doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem like me.
Now,
Hey, Selwyn.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, Selwyn, can I go explore the town?
As long as you stay safe, dear.
Oh, I don't like all the people, but I will want to go with you. Maybe. I go with.
Alright, so I'm gonna go people watch. Come with me.
Okay.
Oh, if you're gonna go do that, I'm gonna go make sure that they got a big enough kitchen and enough food to feed a Zerg appetite.
Oh. There's not enough food for that. Forewarning.
We can take the edge off at least.
So you want to follow Dolphin up to his home?
Absolutely.
All right. What about you, Zerg and Selwyn?
Zerg's gonna go for a wander as well. He's a little bit taken aback by the size of everything and
Come with us.
everything. I'll come for a wander.
Yeah.
The moment my carriage is assembled, I'll go inside and I'll go to sleep. I have not had a wink of sleep since I got on that fucking boat.
Go inside and your wagon, or
Yes.
well, it's gonna be a minute for your wagon actually gets unloaded.
That's what I mean. The moment it's unloaded, I just get inside.
Oh,
and go to
the
sleep.
second you fucking can,
Yeah.
you're going. Fair enough. So it is worth mentioning that it's still relatively early in the day. So if you wanted to, you have plenty of day. You have basically a full downtime day. So you could do anything up to and including even schedule a show or start setting up advertisements or purchasing advertisements or starting to advertise for it as early as literally today if you wanted to. But, of course, you did just arrive in the Swordlands, and you did just get off of a boat that you were sitting on for 2 days. And a day of rest certainly doesn't sound like the worst idea.
See, metagaming, it's very smart to start advertising immediately. However, player-wise, I am not in the mental state to do anything.
No for me, fam. Fair enough. So, Ara and Arabis, as you make your way out into town to kind of explore here, it really is just truly massive. Although outside of the port itself, it largely does seem to, again, be very kind of similar to Aberton. There are a pair of churches here. One of them looking very similar to the Church of Abadar that Aberton had and bearing that same symbol that the Dockmaster's medallion had emblazoned across its doors. Another one is, well, you're not even 100% positive that it is a church in the first place, as it's very open. It doesn't even seem to be a building so much as it's more of a park. And you can see in the center of it, there is an obelisk, just kind of a stone, four-sided pillar sticking up, engraved with a very symbol icon of a bow and arrow. The arms of the bow seeming to be carved out from deer antlers. And Arbus is not here, but Ara, you want to throw me a religion?
I just lost audio.
Wizard magic, there we go. Oh no. We lost audio, that's what you said. Well, Ara lost audio and Arbus. Oh, Arbus is back. Okay, cool.
I'm back.
You want to roll me a religion check then?
Yes. Let's get this guy off my screen. The fancy man with the cape. Okay, where's my skills? Please! Give me my skills! Religion. Oh, God.
Oh, you're untrained. That
Yeah,
makes sense. You
that's
only
right.
know about gods. You have no idea what that icon is.
That's right.
Hey, Ara got in there. Ara, you would absolutely recognize it through its simplicity. The bow and arrow is the holy symbol of Arostel, who is almost kind of like the god of the hearth. Home and family. And a lot of smaller communities like this, he is a pretty large center of worship. No, I know, Matt. Not Cookie, but Matt. You got some stuff you got to go do as you're running off to the Gregate Manor here to help them cook and prepare. And as a brief, unfortunate, the sadness I have to bring for both myself and also the chat, I do believe that what we have here is going to be the last Cookie episode.
Oh no.
At least for the foreseeable
What
future.
the fuck?
That's
Work.
it, I quit.
I'm gonna be going on my work starting in a week, and I'll be on a bi-weekly schedule, so every other session I'd miss.
It's very sad for everyone
Well,
involved.
that's all the information I need.
It is the
Oh! No! Ah!
It's also going to be the last Zerg session, unfortunately.
Finally, I thought that fuck would never leave.
Got me, you son of a bitch!
Man, we gotta fucking lose you again.
Oh,
First,
I know.
I mean, at least this is a way less depressing
Right?
out than what we have for Esvis and the Age of Ashes. So it's better than that, at least. Not a high bar. It was an incredibly depressing story, but such was life. Matt, again, it's been fucking great playing with you. Been good to have you around. Cookie was
Thank you so much.
fantastic. For what
he will remain.
small and beautiful amount of time we had him, and he will remain as the circus's cook in our hearts until the end on our bellies.
That,
Until time
even outside
immemorial.
Pathfinder, there's always there's always a place for you in my heart, hearth, and home.
No, that's a Rostel. That's a
Later,
Rostel worship. There we go.
Yeah, that's definitely.
So it's been great, Matt, but unfortunately, Chad and friends, we have to say goodbye again. The sadness. Let's get a
I
one
know.
brief F for Cookie. F.
F.
F for Goody. Best of luck, comrade.
Appreciate it.
I hope you do well on the job.
I
At least leave up for something worthwhile.
Okie dokie. So, Ara, have you sorted your audio issues? I'm gonna take that as a no.
It's our technical issue of the day.
Technical issue of the day. Never forgetty.
Son
Well,
of a bitch.
Ara and Arabis, as you walk through the town, you would notice a couple of things that do seem interesting to you. Of course, that tavern that you passed initially, the Port Authority, is quite large and very busy. It seems to be near totally stacked with various deckhands and sailors coming in to get their drink and, well, perhaps get their women with what shore leave they have. That said, it's not like themed or restricted at all. In fact, it seems to be about as plain as a tavern could possibly be. It's just particularly large, and large enough with a second floor that you can tell it's got to be full of places to stay longer than just a quick drink and a meal. You also see further off of the dock. Well, there are a lot of people working. It all seems to already be organized. There's nowhere that you can really, and neither of you having like any societal sense whatsoever may have tried. There's not like any shops or stores or smiths or anything you can just kind of walk into. They're all a bunch of men that are working, that are busy, that have their contracts. But there's an exception a little bit further near the edge of the port area here, with a simple sign of an anvil, and above it in almost flattened black text, Bangers, which is a much more public available blacksmith that you guys could use. And closer to the market square where you guys are going to be setting up your shows, there is a kind of comedically named the store at the center of the world, which doesn't look like it's terribly large, but does look surprisingly well maintained. It's white painted, very well appointed wood paneled walls, kind of make it stand out a bit from the more rustic and more plain homes and even farms as Carrick sprawls out away from the port itself. It seems to be particularly upscale here. You got it, Ara?
I fixed it.
There you go.
He fixed it.
I'm embarrassed to say what the problem was.
What'd you do?
boy.
Just chalk it up to
Then
you,
don't.
idiot.
Then
What'd
don't.
you do? Did you hit the
Do?
mute button on your microphone?
No, so what happened was
Oh god.
the volume control rubbed up against my jacket and caught the zipper, and I didn't realize it. So it turned the volume all the way down without me realizing it.
Do you?
Oh, my poor head. I slapped myself in the head to face palm, but I have a ring on now.
Int
So-
10 character.
Channeling it.
So, you spend the morning and what the rest of the afternoon looking around, Selwyn overseeing as much as is absolutely necessary before you can... Oh, sorry.
What were those churches? Like, it cut out right before you were explaining that, and
There was
I
a
thought you were
Temple
about
of
to say...
Abadar and a much more open, it's not even a building, but more like a worship area, like a park dedicated to Erostel.
Alright. Well, when I get a chance, I'm actually going to find my way back over there.
To the Erostel place?
Yes.
Okay. It's not like... It does have a fence around much of it. A fairly simple wooden fence, but it's not like vision blocking. It's wide pickets, more just kind of to denote the area than anything. And it's punctuated with several open gates that don't even appear to have like gates in there. They're more just gateways, really. They couldn't even be closed if they wanted to. As you kind of stroll into the park, you would see that it is not completely empty. The whole area of Carrick is set kind of into some rolling hills, especially out to the west side of town. I mean, you can see it pretty clearly on the map. It gets very, very hilly as you move up. So to your right as you come from the port. And this is sort of towards that. So the area is on some big rolling ground and commands a decent amount of actual real estate. And inside there are a couple of what almost look like monks wearing very plain, very standard, just flat brown robes drawn around their waist with a simple white cord. And they have hoods, but they'd all be down. They're moving around, some sat on benches discussing things, and several kneeling before the obelisk, visible from outside. But none of them would move to, none of them would like come to acknowledge you, much less like pile you with questions or concerns or anything. As you walk in, you're left unbothered.
I find my way to the obelisk and I sit in front of it and just rest for a little bit.
I'm staying with Aura, actually.
I'm staying at home.
So
Social distancing, baby.
While you don't know exactly what this is, because you don't know anything but Gazra, it is apparent to you that it is almost a church of some kind, and it seems in some ways similar, especially with how open it is. Not being a building rather than just a grassy knoll with this obelisk set into it.
If he doesn't, I mean, I will remain quiet unless he says something to me. I'm just sort of observing.
Ara's just sitting quiet.
It would be a very peaceful area. Selwyn, much to your dismay, it's going to take a couple of hours of work to really start getting stuff properly off of the pier.
Is there a patch of grass nearby?
Early in the afternoon, wagons and animals would finally start getting rolled out to the market square, this festival square that Dolphin has offered to lease you for such a small amount, really. And you would know that with all the things that you've dealt, I mean, with the taxes and everything you had to pay on your shows, in Escadar even, 5 silver a day for your entire circus to set up and stay there and perform at your leisure and do whatever you want. There's no further restrictions other than please buy your goods locally, is truly an absolute deal.
Yeah, I figured. I also figured there's going to be some, favors tonight on this little birthday party, little dinner.
But the afternoon would pass largely without incident before, as more of a supper time is approaching, like 5 in the afternoon, still with a few hours of sunlight left, you start to wonder when perhaps you should start making your way down to the manor.
Wait, I didn't tell the idiots to have a return time. I made a mistake, but my mind is cloudy.
At that moment, I would like us to walk up behind Selwyn. Hi, Selwyn.
Ah!
Hey there, Selwyn. You feel better now?
I was heading towards recovery, but now it's straight into the abyss.
Oh. Okay.
This town sure is neat, Selwyn.
Is it?
Yes, a lot better than Escadar.
Escadar.
What? Escadar?
Escadar.
Fair enough.
What is
I
that
remember.
noise?
It was
Passing wagon
Escadar. Oh.
with a huge metal pot on the side of it banging against the wheel every time the cow takes a step.
No, the sound.
Ox takes a
Nay.
step.
Selwyn, do we have to go to the dinner at the giant?
Well,
I have a big house. Guys,
idea great. There are very few things that you have to do. You have to breathe and you have to die. Everything else is choice and consequence.
Well,
However, yes.
That was very prophetic of you.
it depends on who you are.
All right. You just have to die. Yeah. All right.
So, together, the group of you would make your way out to the Gregate Estate, which really is, by far what appears to be the largest actual residential manor and one of the larger buildings in Carrick. It's a home of very obvious wealth, constructed largely of red brick with some white granite accents. The roof is shingled with dark wood between 3 separate tall brick chimneys around the outside. And perched right on the very top is a weather vane in the shape of a cockatrice. Which would be way more hilarious if you guys had been permanently PTSD'd because I didn't write the cockatrice out of book 1. I didn't want to kill everyone immediately, so I did.
I'm very happy you did, buddy. Thank you.
And there's a crushed gravel path leading up to the front stairs, as well as looping around the right side of the house in the east as you approach. Up to some wide stairs, to a front porch between some rather stately inset windows. And for simplicity's sake, I don't know, just bring us over here.
Arbus, how are your feet feeling?
I get used to this walking in many conditions. You get used to it. It's fine. I like it. I try to avoid most of the gravel, but if I can't, then it hurts a little.
Don't want anything on your feet at all?
No.
The slab of wood?
No, I don't wear boots per se, or any kind of thing. I like to feel the ground beneath me.
Boots.
Boots. If that's what they're called.
If that's your real name.
She's at least wearing her performance dress to this dinner, so it's not like complete hobo. Shoeless.
Okay,
like a
shoeless.
homeless lady.
Wait,
that you
yeah,
just found
I was
on the
gonna
side of the
say,
road.
are you shoeless, Arbus?
I am always shoeless,
Well, in
Salvin.
that case, you're a hobo.
I don't understand. I try to dress nice for you this nice night.
I gotta buy you some fucking shoes.
She won't wear them.
I don't wear them. I don't like this on the feet. Mr. Batsky, I don't think he wears shoes, does he?
I'm wearing shoes, Selwyn.
No shoes.
Is he going to tell him, Selwyn, not to wear shoes?
Big
No,
orcish
that's
feet
not
are kind of like shoes anyway.
We gotta give you some shoes, Batsky.
I don't need shoes.
You don't need shoes now.
Team no shoes, the boots, none of this.
You've got little girly feet. I do not need them.
Well, I mean,
No, that's not about needing. It's about decorum.
what is coral? Wait,
Ah.
you mean like in the ocean?
No, I don't mean like in the ocean, Gray. I mean it's in like social grace.
I am very graceful. Have you seen my performances?
No, when you perform, Gray, I specifically look away.
She does.
You don't know? You don't watch Misako?
I watch your show. Come on, Gray.
I'm not even hungry anymore, Selwyn.
Where's my
I think
pillow?
you
I need
should
something
apologize.
to scream into.
I think you should say sorry to Arabis.
Gonna walk on up the porch.
Yep.
Is there like... Do I just knock on the door?
No, you. Selwyn says you knock like this.
Are you
Why have I
also
ever
walking
said
up
that?
to the door and doing that?
Yes, that's immediately what I'm doing.
You walk up the door and
Wait.
just bang on it wildly.
When I ever said that?
You said don't sneak in. You said knock on the door, Selwyn.
Yes,
Wait,
not
wait.
bang on the door.
But as you are arguing about this, as you are having this debate, the door opens before you, and Dolphin Gregate himself, whose name is wrong on the token, I learned.
Uh-oh.
Right, that's the big thing that keeps getting me on Foundry, is that changing things on the character does not natively change things on the tokens. There we go. As a which is actually super useful. They're two totally separate things. But he opens the door with a smile and sees the group of you, Selwyn and Zerg, approaching the porch as Arbus hurries forth to bang on the door here, and Arbus knocks. Ah, yes, fantastic. Welcome. You're about just in time. I believe that the evening's meal is just ready. Please come in, come in, come in. And he steps back and leaves some space here and gestures you to this room on his right.
Okay, for expressive purposes, how am I feeling at this point?
It's been an entire day. You got here pretty early in the morning.
All right, so I'm probably feeling almost myself again, right?
You're probably feeling a bit better. But this door opens into a pretty elegant foyer. And you can see there's a few doors behind him and a wide just doorway on either side, the right and left here. And next to the north door on the wall behind him would be the head of a relatively small elephant, framed in an elaborate mount set on the wall. There is a hat rack and an umbrella stand next to the entrance, but I don't think any of you have hats or umbrellas. We're not people.
I just realized how small
Wait,
my
I have a
token
hat.
is. My token's very small, and it makes me very happy.
I just didn't bring my hat. I used that hat for
It's
shows.
very small. Yeah, it is it fits in one square, but it's very tiny because you are a tiny lad. Because that's a thing that I can do, so why not?
Oh God.
Although I should
Be careful.
It's a little smaller than it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be here.
Yeah.
I look
like
at
it small.
Aura, and then I look at the giant elephant head on the wall.
As you're looking at that, he turns and looks behind it. Oh, yes, spectacular little trophy, isn't it? Unfortunately, I can't truly say that I hunted it myself. I purchased this in Absalom some years ago, just an adornment.
Nothing wrong?
But please, come in.
I just walk in. Doop 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 doop.
This visit was cursed from the start.
So when he bought it, this
I know, he didn't even kill it himself. What a fucking loser, huh?
Well, let's not use the L word
should
in
not
someone
be
else's
killing it in
home.
the first place. It's sacred.
Is it sacred?
All animals are sacred to this storm lord.
Well, how many animals have we
Don't think
killed
it's
now?
a secret. It's right there. It's put it on display.
I was
And,
trying to be
he can't tell what
tactful.
you're whispering amongst yourself. You can see like Zerg pointing to it when you're talking. He's like, and he would step aside to give you a bit of a better view of it as he just kind of gestures. Yes, it is certainly an interesting centerpiece, isn't it? It's incredible what these various safaris can find. I believe this one came down from somewhere in the northern end of the Mwangi expanse, so all the way south of Osirian, past Thuvia, in the wilderness of the jungles on the far side of the mountains. He's sold me, you buy these half of the story as much as the actual ornament here. He told me once, you sell the tail with the product, especially something like this.
It wasn't someone who talked about an elephant sword, right?
An elephant sword? Can't say I've heard much of a thing, but I've never been much for weapons.
You would have known.
Well, perhaps it's a running joke then. No, he didn't, not that I remember.
Arvis.
Very nice. I like this. You did good. Huh?
So,
Eh?
Aura,
Like nudging to Selwyn, like, am I doing good? Like,
I'll give the most subtle thumbs up I can.
he would just kind of smile and nod and a bit, just accepting the odd but compliment nonetheless. Aura, you would have led into a room with a large, comfortable leather sofa behind a low, polished teak table with a wide fireplace, lit, but with a very small, comely fire. It's still, it's Gosrin. It's late spring. It's not terribly cold outside, but there's comfortable chairs and small tables spaced all throughout the room. Now, those of you in the entryway just kind of looking around. To the left, you can see something a little bit different. A very elaborate wooden bier occupying the center of a much more open chamber with another wide bricked fireplace on the far wall, unlit. Now, the chairs in here are very different. Uncushioned, of flat wood, not contoured whatsoever. They look relatively uncomfortable, and they're spaced around a massive gray carpet that dominates the vast majority of the room. And placed on the central table with flowers on either side is a very well-appointed coffin with a purple satin sheet drawn around it and the top of it open and exposed.
is it that I can just work these little things in the book of the art into the map?
It's very cool.
I have that
Arbus.
token that's on the map that I can just pop up and show you. That's so cool.
What
That's so cool.
Can you speak
Come here.
up? I can't hear what you're saying.
Come here. So I grab Arbus's hand and lead her to the fireplace.
Okay.
And just kind of I sit down in front of the fireplace and pat on the ground.
What are you doing?
Resting in front of the fire. An actual fireplace.
Selwyn and Zerg, what are you doing as Arbus gets pulled into the parlor here?
I guess I'll be the only one with any modicum of sense in this circus, literally,
What were you expecting?
in this madhouse. I need more payment than what I'm currently owed. And I'm also pulling out my companion flask, the one thing that's never failed me. And I'll take a big
Steps over the
swig.
threshold, sees all this, takes a shot. All right.
Yeah.
But you and Zerg, I see, are very much still just standing in the doorway.
Yeah, Zerg is standing
So I didn't
almost-
realize there was a real map.
almost too
Oh, there's
upright.
a map, yeah.
Oh yeah, we got a map, bro.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I have Zoom open to see your beautiful faces.
Yeah, we do have there's an actual map here. He's
Yeah, I have
gesturing
to
this
restart
room to your
Farley.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zerg's just standing in the doorway, like, kind of awkward, toothy, fang grin, standing a little bit too upright, trying to look not intimidating and like I'm meant to be here, but I'm absolutely no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. So,
You're doing great, Sark.
So Selwyn heads into the parlor to the right. Are you gonna follow her, or still just kind of stand there with you?
I'll stand there just a little bit too long.
And he will approach just to close the front door behind you. And are you wearing people clothes, or do you still just have the chainmail leotard on?
I'm just wearing the chainmail leotard. That's all I've got.
So he would reach to put a hand on your shoulder, but not actually touch you, just sort of over have her hand and nod. Yes, right this way in here to the parlor, and the servants will be along shortly when dinner is ready. But please have a seat.
I'll walk into the wrong room.
Thank you. he would follow along behind. Well, turns back to Selwyn. Your friend here. I'm sorry, we didn't have much time for proper introductions. I didn't get all of your names. I know Selwyn, of course. I've heard you're the one running the show here from my contacts in Escadar. But as the rest of you, would you like a tour of the house? I know it's somewhat interesting, but I run the moratorium and everything, cremations and all, out of my own estate here.
Right.
I'll look over his shoulder at Selwyn like, do I
Do
go?
you-
What do we do? What am I
Do
doing?
you want an introduction to my, for lack of a better word, crew?
Well, absolutely. If these are your associates, I'm more than happy, as I said, to host most of you. I believe this traveling circus is possibly the best thing that could be coming to the Grange these days. Then he turns around towards Zerg. We shook hands earlier, but I didn't quite get a name from you. Dolphin Gregate. And holds a hand out.
This is my good friend Cirque, the Bone Fist, the strongest man alive.
I can do it. I can do it.
Okay.
Bone, Zerg, Bat
Excellent.
Fist. No.
Do you want me to take over the boring
But
fucking
shut.
voice?
Stop it. I can do this. Sweat.
I pull out and take another swig.
Zerg. Just Zerg. Zerg is good. Zerg is me.
Zerg, then. And he takes your hand and a firm handshake and looks in the eyes and nods. And then steps back out of the way to let the rest of you come through. But
Right.
and says, very well. Well, if you will, this way. This is the viewing parlor. I have this arranged for, and I do apologize in advance. I may have to excuse myself from dinner a few times when the family arrives. But as I said, rather than having a separate moratorium or viewing parlor or anything, it's been much simpler and much nicer to run everything out from my own estate.
Yes, one second. Let me confirm with my companions. Cookie, do you have a long list of titles you want me to add to your whole
Cookie'd be in the
introduction?
kitchen somewhere. Cookie is
Oh,
already
right,
been
he's not
here.
even here,
He's
yeah.
not even here.
In fact, I'll ask Aura instead, because I don't think I've asked him specifically.
Ask me what?
Do you have a long list of titles that you want, as part of your introduction?
Can you think of any titles? Most people just call me Ara.
I can. Do you want me to, roll a couple together and then, present it at the next introductory party?
Yeah, sure.
All right. In that case, and I'll point to Arbus. This is Arbus, the Stormborn, Friend of the Forest, Whisper in the Wind, the Vala 2, the Pipagok, Companion of the Searing Scales, the Greyat Grace, Crown of Flowers, Witch of the Woodlands, the Flame of Freedom, Pearl of Passion, the Fantastic Wielder of Magic, and most importantly, the Empress of the Wild of the Service of Wayward Wonders.
Give the worst courtesy you've ever seen in your life. Just
Still, from all the way back by the fire, and he would just nod. Oh, that's an impressive array of titles you have there. Earned over a lifetime of accomplishments and services, I'm sure. Well, it's very much my pleasure to make your acquaintance, Miss Harvis.
Thank you.
And he kind of gestures to Ara. Is this now? I'm not magically inclined myself. I don't know anything about the various tenets and operations of any kinds of druids or mages or wizards or any of the like. But let me see if I can get this right. Is this a homunculus, a familiar of yours?
No.
Sorry, the
That's
terminology escaped me. I thought for once I may be able to have the answer to a magically ordained question.
Or is this fascinated by the fire in the fireplace? Not even paying attention to anyone but someone.
My forehead, I face-palmed again. This ring is going to be the death of me.
I could only hope.
No. What? Whoa.
Wow. Okay.
Oh,
the hostility.
That's the bout. I'm sorry.
I feel ruined.
Oh, what? Introductions?
This is
I turn around and I quickly jump up on the table and do a big old bow. The name's Ara.
As you jump on the table.
All right, list of titles.
He's undaunted, Selwyn.
Well, yeah, obviously he's the undaunted, but you got other things like the Emperor of Fire, the Great Caller of the Storm, the Fireball Flinger, things like that, right? You got to work those in. It's like, but pulling him out of me, it's like pulling out a rotten tooth.
As someone's discussing this, I just walk over to him, hold out my hand as high as I can.
And he would reach down to, as well as he can, shake your little leshy stick hand.
The name's Arlulu Ara. I'm a talking doll.
Arlulu Ara. Well, that's quite the mouthful. I must say, just from having met the four of you and your chef friend Cookie, who has gotten on quite swimmingly with my servants.
Tabble, right?
I'm very interested to see your performances. This circus seems like it'll be a true masterpiece. I can't even begin to imagine the various acts and features of fear-defying skills and dexterity you'll be performing for the town. But, of course, as your friend Zerg here has found, this is the viewing parlor. And I do ask that you please leave a respectful distance to the coffin in the center. As I said, I do have a family that will be coming through visiting later this eve. Very unfortunate turn of events it was. Terribly sudden. But, of course, I not speak of them out of their presence or to, well, those who weren't close to the family. But it was a shock to us all. But if you wish to see the parlor itself, please.
Gonna scooch in.
Still standing in the doorway, smiling like a maniac.
I'm gonna scooch in past her.
Yeah, you should be able to actually just move through each other, not top each other and stuff. That's
Yeah,
not
we
a
can.
problem. So, as you get in here, you see that again there is a large collection of these different, somewhat uncomfortable-looking flat wooden chairs arranged almost haphazardly around the room. In stark contrast to this very well-maintained and manicured parlor.
This room is sad.
Is it sad?
It's very sad.
I think the word you're looking for is somber.
No, the death of a family member is sad, no matter whose family. I go back over to the fireplace and sit back down.
That is not true at all.
No, it is. He's right, but at the same time, it's the way of things. There cannot be life without death.
That's a very astute an observant mindset you have there, Miss Arbus, and one that, as the mortician, I find myself trying to keep in the forefront of my mind as much as possible. And I know it may seem a bit odd. I'm not sure how the traditions are in Escadar and Field to be running a mortuary out of one's own home. But, well, we here in the Grange and the Swordlands, we're simple folk. And as you said, as terrible as the passing of a loved one or even an acquaintance always is, it is an unavoidable feature of life. Now, and as he steps back towards the door at the northern end of the room, he gestures to the other door. Through there, straight down the hall and on your left are the... This is me, not him. Damn it. What's the word? Are the accommodations. Should you need throughout the night.
Restrooms?
Yes, restrooms. And he opens the door in front of him. And through this way, if you will follow, as he heads forward deeper into his house, opening another door through the next hallway.
Oh god, where did he go?
Someone's
He went
panicking. Someone's
the hall.
panicking. She lost eye contact.
Where is it? Where is it?
Someone
You
had...
go left. Opening doors.
I'm
Someone...
panicking.
North Hall!
Oh. Right, okay.
Over here!
I got... Find it's a scary and new place, okay?
Ara does not move.
Ara's not coming.
I'm gonna go back. Come on, Ara. Oh, sorry. bit too close.
Picks up Ara, drags him away. Wait, she can't. She tried this before.
No, I didn't. I'll stab you.
Ara doesn't move. He's just watching the fire.
As you're discussing that over here, this
All right, I'm
Dolphin
leaving.
moves
Yeah,
forth through the
bye-bye.
house, opening the door next to him.
Oh no,
it
my
shows-
token doesn't have light.
You shouldn't need light. It should be global illumination.
Oh yeah, I can't. It's really dark in the corners. Okay.
He shows the way into a pretty well-appointed dining chamber, where a somewhat elderly man would already be laying some sets. Evening's meal seems like it's always almost ready. This here, as he motions to the men setting the tables, and the man turns with a wry smile and just kind of raises his hand. This is one of my servants, George. He'll be preparing the evening's meal along with his wife, Eldranior. They've served me for years. They're fine folk, and I would say normally with fine meals, but this, nothing against your cooking, of course, George, but this cookie, friend of yours, very well appropriately named, it seems, is something else. I don't know where he's been taught or where he's learned, but his culinary expertise is near unfathomable.
It isn't bad, that's for sure.
And he continues up forward. Here on the right, this door simply leads through to the kitchens. Nothing much terribly interesting to be found through there. And straight towards a door near at the end of the hall. And besides, you'll be able to see them from here as we head to the back. And he opens this back door. So assuming the group of you are all just following, I can lump us through as we go.
Yes.
Nugget.
We can take the nugget. And he opens the back door, gesturing towards the kitchen on the right as you're all passing through. You head back out to another one of the gravel paths out behind his home. And there's a small, detached building outside. I know dynamic lighting looks like there's another building to the left. That is a cutaway. There is nothing there. There is just this one building here, which he moves and opens the door to and steps aside. And you can all very much feel free to poke your heads into here, but this is where much of the business happens. This is, I suppose, the interesting end of a mortician's career. And Arbus, as you step forward and look, you see into a chamber that even as you approach the door, hits you with a very strong odor, mixed of chemicals, bleach, and decay all together. You can see inside that there is a long brass table at the left wall next to an iron grate that's fixed into the floor on the near end of it that's pretty heavily stained near a pair of barrels and buckets. There's a work table on the north wall with a variety of strange implements hooked and bladed that you don't really recognize or can't immediately divine their purpose. With additionally several large syringes with huge glass tanks set on them. And the far side has an assortment a huge rack of shelving with clay, stone, metal urns, several racks and banks of small brass nameplates just stacked up together. And as you're peeking your heads in there, he gestures to it. This is the embalming laboratory. This is the part of the trade that requires the most learning, I suppose. My father taught me this back in Absalom, and I'd hoped to make a living of myself there, perhaps, but it seems that the funerary market in the city at the center of the world, so it's called, is very well cornered by a wide assortment of churches and very well-setting groups. I don't regret moving out to the Grange at all, though. It's been nothing but a pleasure. The people of Carrick have been fantastic. But this is the more operative part of the trade. The trade part of the trade, if you will. The knowledge comes in, and learning, and the hand practice.
So what kind of tricks do you do with these things?
I don't know that I'd call them tricks necessarily, Zerg, but it's the art of preservation. The art of making sure that those who wish it will have access to their loved ones, or at least know that their bodies rest in gentle repose, free from decay, in the family mortuaries, cemeteries, crypts, or whatever it may be, for decades, centuries, and generations to come.
Oh, you're a mortician. I thought you said magician. I was wondering what kind of magic tricks you do with these things. It's very scary, but this makes more sense now, yes.
Cox his head.
Oh, the coffin! I thought you were going to put a rabbit out of it. But
nervously rubs his lapel. I suppose I had heard of similar tricks, and I could see the misconception, but no, I do apologize. Yes, a mortician.
This makes sense now. I understand this, yes.
Heavens, if I would be putting on a magic show for the evening, I would welcome the rest of you to be entertained. I wouldn't need to excuse myself from an evening's meal. You'd very well be included.
You could still do magic with the body. Like a puppet or something.
Oh, no.
I
I'm
suppose
going to stop talking now because Selwyn is giving me looks.
Oh no.
And just sort of step back and resume the awkward smiling, like I've said too much.
And I'll step forward and close the door. Yes, well, additionally, the desires of every family are always different, especially when it comes to grief and loss. And not everyone wishes to be buried for time immemorial under the ground in a coffin with a headstone. Some wish a much simpler fate. The rack of urns on the back wall are those prepared for those who wish a simpler fate. Beneath my home, and I won't take you down below simply because there's nothing of interest and it's not particularly well kept, but I do also have a crematorium that I run myself. Yes, all facets of the mortician's trade, as I said, taught by my father, practiced here within these very walls. Now, if you wish, you are free to have a look around the yards here. The gardens and the trees are all fairly well kept, but I do believe well, it seems George is near done setting the table. Dinner will be, in a flash. But please, if you wish to remain outside and we can have some pre-evening discussions here, I'd be more than happy to stay. But if you'd be more comfortable in the parlor, let us retire there instead.
I follow you. I go sit down.
Well, I do believe there's much nicer seating arrangements at the very least back inside. And he'll head back in. And as he comes back in the door, he will, you'll hear him call out to the side, Eldranio, my dear, if you will, please make sure the back door is closed behind the guests. And then continue down the hall, and he will head back to the parlor where Ara is still seated. And assuming you're all going to follow him, I can just bring you. So we're not going to be strange animals. I can just bring everyone down here. Except Ara, maybe, who's sitting there staring at the fire.
As they approach back to the lobby, they actually hear Ara talking to himself.
Himself or the fire?
Nice.
To the fire, actually.
I pick up what he's saying.
It's simple stuff. Like you have a very lovely home here. Looks like a very nice family too. Oh, mines are coming back. Nice talking to you. How was the tour? I sit next to Selwyn. I'm just gonna move myself right there.
Yeah, it's fine. And as Dolphin comes back in, takes a seat in one of the chairs at the far end of the room. He doesn't interrupt. He simply seats and lets you have your conversation. A smile on his face as always.
It was great. Lovely. Awesome. Were you talking to the fire?
Yeah.
Of course. Of course
Well,
you were.
Not to the fire, but yeah.
He stands up if you will excuse me, perhaps let me retrieve a few things from the kitchen before the dinner is quite ready. And heads back out of the parlor and back towards the north end of the house, leaving the four of you here.
So when you talk to your knives like regularly, why would it be weird if Ara talks to the
I
fire?
do not talk to my knife.
I have seen you talk to Clara before. So
The night before we left, you talked to the other one that's not Clara. You said he's a good knife.
I would never say that to Carl.
Was it Carl?
Speaking of which, I want to ask you. I was going to ask you in private, but maybe I can have one of your knives to have in case I need. You have many.
Well, no, I was just I wasn't pondering the request. I was pondering why the sudden want.
Well, just in case for medical reasons.
All right, which one do you want? I mean, obviously, you're not getting Clara.
Well, then why do I even ask, Selwyn? I thought I could have the good one, but I just want a little knife. In case, all right, there's plenty of times I could explain the medical variations as to why when Mr. Baskey gets bit by a snake and there's poison and it's harder for me to treat it, but if I had a knife, perhaps I could cut and leak out some of the poison and it would be a lot easier. It might be a little more risky, perhaps some risky surgery to perform, but it would be better for me. Maybe more effective. I'm sorry, I was talking shop, as they say.
No, I hesitate to interrupt, but please, I thought you may want to drink. It seems you've had a busy day's work, I'm sure, even with the dockmaster's assistants unloading and preparing everything, and besides, hospitality, of course. And note that is super nice to everybody, you can move with WASD, which is very convenient for just walking around an area like this instead of actually just dragging the token places.
You can also do this.
All you care about is token rotation.
Yes,
yeah,
I do.
You can just walk around with WASD.
God. That is stupid cool.
That is actually super nice. But he sets down on the table. He has under one arm a pair of bottles. One almost like a dark purple, and one a sort of off-white. And setting them both down, labels towards Selwyn, you can see that he has two fairly what appear to be old vintage wines, a red and a white that he's set down. In his other hand, he places down a much stouter square bottle with an amber liquid labeled as a whiskey. I was like, please, it's a selection of fine liquors. Never been too terribly much of a drinker myself, so I'm afraid I don't have quite as splendid as a collection of my house may lead you to believe. But if there's anything else I can get you before the evening's meal, please, don't hesitate to ask. And he sets down an assortment of very fine crystal glass cups and a couple of smaller shot glasses as well. And he looks to Selwyn. What can I pour you?
Give me a rose.
And Alulu Ara, is it sir? I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend. Do you take drink? I never met a being quite like yourself before.
I look at him. As much as I would love to, I put one finger on each side of my cheeks and just point to where my mouth would be.
It's very interesting. I can hear you clear as you were speaking, like myself or anyone else in here, but you've no mouth to move. I won't pry, of course, but for the lady, Arabus?
I just look at Selwyn. And then back to the drinks and...
Well, one.
I could have one. I would like to... Whatever one you think is more the better of the two.
Well, if I can take a recommendation, I do think as a pre-dinner, this red is a little bit lighter, which would be somewhat surprising, of course, given the nature of reds and whites. But it's also just more of a personal taste of mine. It's got very interesting undertones, but please, you'll enjoy it, I promise. And for Sazerg?
Okay.
Uh,
He wants both, I think.
Both. Both is good.
Of course. And as he pours these wine glasses, he has fairly large crystal goblets, but he puts just, of course, a reasonable small pre-dinner portion of the cups, making no question and handing one each of the red and the white to Zerg, leaving the whiskey untapped before taking a small glass of the red for himself and taking a seat down in his chair near the fire. So, I've heard much of your talents and your performances in Escadar, and I understand that the stagecraft and keeping the magic of it all under wraps is a large part of running the show, but if you would allow me one pry, what is your main event? What is your most spectacular act? What can I come to expect when the Circus of Wayward Wonders raises its curtains?
Well, there's a person carrying a mammoth. There's also me riding a Pegasus, doing, acrobatics.
I lift things.
Right, Sir can lift just about anything. Arabist dances with wolves. Cookie almost kills people.
Yeah, but the Cookie performs as well then.
Yes.
I had surprised. I had offered him when I heard the knock on the door. I'd assumed it was a group of you coming to join us here in the parlor and for the evening's meal, but I can't quite get him to leave the kitchen. He seems attached to the thing. But, of course, I'm not going to complain, even just from the smells wafting out from that. I'm positive the evening's meal is going to be something near to rival your own performances themselves. So you have a huge assortment of various things. You're covering all the traditional thoughts that one would have thinking of a headliner circus act. Mammoths. Of course, I saw one of the elephants up on the decks of the barges. It's just truly wonderful. I've never seen anything like this coming through Carrick. Of course, we've got ships coming in and day out, but most of those are always shipping cargo, imports and exports of the town itself. But I won't bore you, of course, with the runnings of daily business. So, how do you like it, traveling as a circus? Is it pleasurable?
Yeah, I'd say it is.
I like it.
You get to meet a lot of fun people.
That does very much sound like it'd be a great upside of the thing. Getting to see the sights and the sounds of all kinds of places throughout the world. I imagine you could, if you could charter a barge to Carrick, surely you could take a ship similarly anywhere.
How about you? Do you like your work?
That's me, not him. And he smiles and nods and takes a small sip of his wine. It's a trade I was raised with, a trade that my father practiced, and a trade that I've always been at least somewhat enamored with. It's an interesting, if perhaps, of course, understandably, some would think very morbid glimpse into society, dealing with, loss on a day in and day out basis. Many think that the task would be very mentally demanding, and in some ways it truly is. It's a separation of sorts that's really necessary. Because as I introduced before, I'm not just the mortician of the town of Carrick here. I am, at the moment, the master of the Carrick Grange. And I do find that, these days, both of them take equal parts of my time.
A master, of the Grange. What exactly is that?
Oh, pardon me. I don't know much of the workings of places beyond Carrick. A personal failing of mine. I don't give much opportunity to travel much beyond the realm of the Grange itself. The Grange is a collective, you could say, of various farmers and herders, those who make their lives throughout the greater part of the swaddlands around Carrick, but outside the reach of Absalom and its assorted consortiums. He takes a quick sip. It's, I suppose, more or less, the equal terms I can give it to is perhaps a union that you would understand. But a collective, I think, is a better way to see it, as there's no grand employer or overarching hand bearing down on us. Simply that we find that our harvests, our yields, our lives, at the very least, are much better the more that we come together, and rather as a single unit instead of a group of scattered settlements throughout the plains and pastures.
You help bring balance to each other to survive.
You can say that, yes. and this balance also is better for the business for everyone. When farmers aren't constantly trying to be the first or the best to market, aren't having to worry about gouging each other or setting different or battling through competing undercuts, it's much more successful, much more profitable, much more of a good livelihood for everyone involved. Now, tell me, Miss Arbus, I don't believe I've led you astray. What do you think of the wine?
I think it tastes pretty good. I've just been trying to smell it and then sip it. It is good. I like.
If you in any way question, of course, I wholly understand. I don't want to force you into anything that you're uncomfortable with, and some have a very refined palate, a very specified taste. And like I said, I do apologize for the lack of breadth in my collection, but it's got such an interesting, almost sort of earthy undertone.
It's very. I've had earthy before. I've literally dranken out of puddles. Like, it's not. I've had very bad drink in my day, but no, this is quite fruity, I guess.
It is a red after all.
Yeah, it's refreshing.
So it sounds like I take it from that you have all had to work terribly hard to get where you are today, pulling yourselves up by the bootstraps, so to speak. I mean, getting started as a traveling surface certainly has an incredible amount of overhead.
I don't wear boots, but some people.
Oh, it may be a Grange saying, perhaps, but you're self-made. You've built yourselves up from the very ground. As you said, I assume drinking of puddles is a similar euphemism. But
sure.
Starting off, I mean, the investments in the animals, the wagons, the tenting, all of this, as much as trying to arrange areas to show, must have been a terrible trouble to get off the ground.
Sure, it wasn't too bad.
I thought we just ran away.
Well, again, I'm just simply curious, is all. I'm very interested in the makings of a circus, and as I said, I think you coming here now is a fantastic thing for Carrick and all of the Grange. I don't ever get the impression I'm attempting to pressure you into anything you're uncomfortable speaking with. I'm not trying to pry into any kind of secrets or anything. I just truly am very much engaged. I suppose the childlike sense of wonder inside me is very interested in what goes into trapeze flips and mammoth riding as a professional career.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
Eating out your competitors is one of them.
Yeah, true.
And at that point, you would see the old man again, George, would come around the corner with a tray in one hand. Master Gregate and company, the evening's meal is ready and served. Don't worry about your glasses, I'll collect them for you. And Gregate would stand up. Excellent, George, thank you. Please then, everyone, if you will follow George, I believe the feast is served. And I would just gesture towards him, and the old man would stand out of the way and gesture as well through the northern door back to the dining area.
Platform?
Yeah.
Assuming you're just gonna go. Can I drag you for simplicity's sake?
Please.
WASD is so nice.
It's a super travel nugget.
I can make the super travel nugget because you guys can just pull yourself out of it however you want.
Oh, I love it.
Then I can just walk with WASD. Easiest game I've ever played. So, as a Dolphin comes in, as you come out, there is another elderly woman there who bows her head. Miss Eldrainor, follow me if you will, please. And leads the group of you the 10 feet over to the dining hall, and where she has already gotten 4 chairs pulled out near it would be near the head of the table. So it would be the ones up here that she would have you ready to sit. So you would be at the same end of the table with Dolphin. And this table, everything is set in a very high-class fashion. There is no food immediately visible, but you've got at least 3 different plates and 4 different forks set in front of you with an array of differently sized glasses and things. And as he sits down, the husband of the Martins, comes in back from the kitchen bearing a fairly large platter, which he lays out into the table in front of you, which looks to be a steaming array of sliced various gourds, squashes, interlaced with bits of mushroom, sort of just almost random mushroom caps of an array of different shades from almost completely black through all the browns up to white. And he lays that down, and then his wife comes back around afterwards with a massive roast laid out on a bed of lettuce and sliced tomatoes, already with a couple of slices down, peeled, a large butcher's knife set into it, and this roast alone would be certainly enough food for this entire party here. It is a massive flank. And before both the servants end up standing, arms folded in front of them, smiles on their faces by the side of the table. As they lay them down, Dolphin looks up and nods. "Thank you very much. I appreciate your services, and it seems that Cookie, is he not going to be joining us?" And George kind of bows his head. "Well, I think you'll perhaps find this much to your liking, Master. We can't even get him to lead the kitchen. He's still preparing desserts. With that, if it wouldn't be too much trouble, as previously discussed, my wife and I will be taking our leave for the evening." And Dolphin nods again, stands up from his chair, and reaches out to shake both their hands. Of course, very much. And both of you have a pleasant evening. I and apparently Cookie will make sure that we take care of the rest of things for the evening here. And two servants bow and quick goodbye, head back out through the door to the kitchen, and take their leave. So as Dolphin sits back down with a smile on his face, as another pair of bottles of wine on the table, seeming to be the same, red and the white, that George had brought in from the other room. You've each got a glass of water in front of you, a separate glass, and some plates prepared for the evening's meal. And he smiles and gestures to the pair of platters in front of you. "Well, feel free to take whatever your eye catches. Guests first, of course. And I do hope that none of you think this was too forward of me, inviting here into my personal home to welcome you to Carrick proper, but I truly am just terribly excited for the prospect of a circus coming, and just so curious about all this. I could ask you a million questions, but let us enjoy a pleasant meal, and I'll leave you all the pain of my constant grilling. And as a matter of fact, we'll leave you with Cookie and the Martins grilling, which smells fantastic, by the way."
Staring at the food.
I go to instinctually just grab the food off the
No, Gray. Fork and knife. We've been over this.
And as he stands up, and also if I may, and he just kind of edges down the table and takes a couple of lids off a few other things, revealing smaller dishes of a warm black bread, and even on that same tin, almost kind of soft half stick of butter under there with a knife, and another smaller tray of cold assorted greens and a salad. Of course, there are these as well. I wouldn't leave you with simply main courses. But I was not privy to your tastes beforehand, but I hope there could be something here to everyone's liking. And apparently Cookie will be preparing a dessert as well. How absolutely fantastic.
Zerg's not paying attention. I'm already eating. Handfuls.
He doesn't seem bothered.
I'm looking at Zerg, I'm looking at Selwyn, and I'm just trying to mimic what fork she's using, so I can try to do what she's doing. Trying to not be like Zerg.
I'll try silently to guide you through this very difficult trial.
I just every time Arbus goes to use a different fork, I just pick up the right fork and hold it up and show her. I have nothing better to do to eat. I'm trained in society.
He knows.
He can be my food coach. It's great.
Except you're sitting opposite each other, like as far away as you can possibly be.
Just goes to grab the wrong utensil. Ah! Arbus, this one.
Right.
Fucking snaps her with like a little trail of fire.
Oh, jeez.
So as you, after everyone has at least gotten their way some degree into the meal here and has gotten some amount of food on their plate and got themselves set up and gotten an opportunity to eat some. He takes his napkin, dabs his mouth a bit, and lays it back down in his lap. So, I have certainly asked a fair selection of my own personal curiosities about your past and your circus and all of that. But you are new to Carrick, to my understanding. At least, none of you will have come through here in the last some years. I've been the master of the Grange for some time, and I do tend to remember a friendly face. So, I'm more than happy to ask any questions that you have about Carrick, the Grange, the Greater Swordlands, anything that I can do to help you. Or just indulge any curiosities, rather.
It is the alcohol or my acute seasickness still talking, but currently, no. It seems like a very lovely city. I'll have to, explore it a bit on my own before we know the lay of the land.
Well, I'm again terribly sorry. There's no simpler way to arrive here than by the deck of a ship, I'm afraid. But, as I mentioned earlier, and I hate to darken the mood here, things haven't been fantastic around the Swordlands these last few seasons. The Grange and the greater area has always been able to produce more than the necessary food for the entirety of Absalom and Deeble, if you'd believe it. We've had incredibly bountiful harvests, but these past years, they have been declining somewhat. A season off, of course, is, well, just part of the farming life. That's something that happens. It's very natural. But so many concurrently and so many in a row certainly has put a sour mood into, well, some of the local farmers and residents. So I do want to apologize in advance for any sourness you may face. They may not believe it. It's just, well, hard times. Though I do have brighter news and something that may line up very well specifically with your particular line of work. Do you know anything about Turpin Row or the Stump Festival?
No.
It's a town much further inland. I think the easiest way to take it to follow is the old farming roads to the south here that lead past Castonley and the Hollows. Keep on going as they turn around to the east and you'll find yourself in Turpin Row. They have something called the Stump Festival, which Turpin Row is not part of the Grange proper, technically, so I don't know as my role as master of the Grange I should really be advertising for them, but they're much more of a logging community, woodsmen, most of them. And they work for, I know, this is a thing that I should know even if it's not particularly under me, it's one of the consortiums, Yalbro, I do believe, that oversees them. Regardless of the point, though, the Stump Festival is a show of skills, competitions, and it's the best party on this side of the Isle of Kortos. I wouldn't miss it for all the Sun Orcas and Thuvia. If you have an opportunity, it's going on for some time and shouldn't be starting up for, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks from now. I know you'll be busy putting on your shows and all that, but personal recommendation, absolutely make time to get down there sometime near the end of Gosrin.
We should try to go, Salwin. Mr. Batsky loves the competition.
Indeed. Well, we'll certainly give it, some thought.
I don't know exactly what their, of course I've never been interested myself, but their conditions as such for participating in the festival yourself. But if you're all, all that Escadar seems to make of you, of performers, of daring feats of acrobatic do and dexterous trickery, juggling all sorts of tripwires and trapezes, you may well be able to partake in the Stump Festival yourself. Now, don't take my word for that. Like I said, I'm not even part of the Grange. I'm not entirely sure how things are run there. But if they let you in, it could be a fair, fun bit of competition. Now, I've been doing some planning, and I don't want to sour dinner with all business here. But if you would allow me to aid you somewhat, I have some, perhaps insights, of course, from the years that I've been running the Grange of where might be the best return for your efforts and your time setting up and trying to set your circus. And if you give me some time and you would like, I can run proper introductions to several of the settlements around the Swordlands myself. I may be able to get you just as easily into, Matt and Cleve and Turpin Row as I could here set up in Carrick.
You are very nice.
Please, it's the least I can do as a host. and it's my job as the master of the Grange to ensure everything runs here properly, and visitors' shows included.
No, I don't want to be offensive to you. You've been fantastic, but it's been in my experience that when people are very, very nice to you...
Pardon me, if you will excuse me for one moment. I do believe that will be the viewing. I am very much sorry. I'll just let them into the parlor, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
And at that knock on the front door, he would stand up and make his way out and back towards the front chamber. And you would hear him open the front door and in a much more somber tone greet somebody, and you hear the shuffling of a decent number of feet as a party comes into the viewing parlor. Well, you're viewing. Leaving the four of you alone in the with the evening's meal here for at least a moment.
Selwyn, it needs to be said, does it not? He's
no, you're
very
not.
Nice. He's very nice. What does he want, Selwyn?
I don't know yet.
It has to be something. Nobody's just...
Maybe he's just that nice.
Maybe.
The food's pretty good.
The food is delicious. Yes, it's all very wonderful. All of this is... If you're into this sort of thing, yes. I don't know. It's never been my experience that people are just inherently nice. I try to be, but I'm not 100% nice.
No, we'll figure it out. I'd like to stand up and have a peek into the main foyer. I'd like to sneak out there.
Okay. So, as you move out to the doorway here, you would be able to see just the very back of Dolphin. He is right here, but you can't see him because line of sight things. I actually really like that Foundry does not show you like just the edge of a token. If you don't have enough vision to square, you just don't see it at all. That's super nice. But you can see he's standing right inside the door. Nobody's speaking or saying anything, but you can hear what sounds like an older man sobbing quietly.
Do I make anything else up?
No, it doesn't appear to be any words being spoken at all.
Well, in that case, I'll awkwardly head back into the dining room.
As you move back and sit down, RIC, you're at the doors here. Are you just like listening at the doors, or?
No, his hands are on the door. Like, he just has his head propped up against the door. He's just being weird.
It's just being Ara.
It kind of looks like, since he doesn't have a lot of facial expression, it looks like he's almost in a pose of mourning.
After a few minutes, you would hear some more muttered words drifting down the hall from the foyer. Some more shuffling of feet and boots on wood before the sound of the front door closing. And then after just a moment, Dolphin would return back to the dining hall, already apologizing. Again, terribly sorry about excusing myself like that. I know it's an absolute scandal of a hosting faux pas, but there may be more parties in here to pay their respects and say their goodbyes throughout the evening, and unfortunately it's just part of the job, I'm afraid. I'll need to let them in. But I am so terribly sorry. Where were we?
About introducing us to the rest of the...
Oh, right, yes, spectacular. About the various settlements and where you may see the most return for your various circuses. Now, I don't have a map on me handy, and I'm not going to excuse myself again so immediately. But Selwyn, you would probably have a map of the Swordlands. The professor would have given it to you, so unless you just don't have it, you would have a map on you.
Yeah.
Would you offer?
Sure. Yeah.
So as you pull it out, oh, fantastic! Very much well prepared then. And as he looks down at this map and looks over it, so here is the easiest thing that I have seen fit. Of course, Carrick being the main port of the Grange and really of the Swordlands as a whole, they're the most people here. But there's also several other major settlements out around as well. You may want to first take this road up here that leads out to the east, and he points down to where it says the Verdant Passage here. This is the main road that leads up the coast around the island, and it leads out to a town called Mattencleave. Just maybe a day and a half journey down the road. Mattencleave is a pretty well-sized farming community with not a whole lot going on, and I think they would be very excited if you could bring the entertainment to them as well. It's probably the largest nexus of harvesters and farms around, and really Mattencleave is nothing if not a meeting ground for all of the various fieldsmen out around the area, a town of necessity. Probably 2,500 people live there as of last counting, so certainly more than an audience to come by for the show, I'm sure. Beyond that, you could continue up further to Fernie, but Fernie's not a particularly large colony, and it's also, it's mostly Shunies. Nothing against them, of course, they're perfectly fine people, but I don't know if you, from a business perspective, you'd be seeing as much of a return on your performances there as you would in something larger like the Cleave. Additionally, if you are willing to take your wagons down some harder roads, there's some farming paths that lead down past the Solomon Hills to the south here. And they lead down to Castanley down here. Now, Castanley, equal to Mattencleave, is almost the southern equivalent. I'd say maybe 2,000, 1,800 people live there, and it's a wide variety of orchards. Even if you weren't going to perform, it's absolutely worth seeing just while you're here in the Swordlands. It's a spectacular sight. Apple trees as far as the eye can see, and in the right season, later on in the year, the ground near coated in things. It's just impressive, honestly, is what it is. Now, it's a bit further. It's going to take you a couple of days' journey to get down there. But while you're there, you may want to see fit to continue on, if not for the Stump Festival, just to put a performance on in Turpin Row. Well, I said they're not technically part of the Grange. I'm not going to lead you astray with only selfish decisions. I'm not going to tell you there isn't money to be made outside the Grange's boundaries. Turpin Row, the loggers there, and with their Stump Festival, are more than ready for a good time. I wouldn't compete with it, but given the time it would take you just to get down there and set up in advance, I'm sure the fest will be well and over with, and they'd be more than ready to receive a Circus of Wayward Wonders and a traveling show. Now, like you said, I don't mean to intrude in any way, but if you wish, oops, that's the wrong place. If you wish, I could prepare you an introduction in each of those places. I could travel either with you, if you so wish, or ahead of times, or I could even just send simple word to the various mayors and movers and shakers of the area to ensure that when you arrive, you're received as well as possible. But anyway, that's with the thought that I've been putting into it. That's the best ideas that I've had.
What are you getting out of all of this?
Well, the show, I'd like to hope. Of course, I'll be down if you're putting on a show here in Carrick at the Market Square, as I hope you will. You know, and you can bet any amount of money you wish and pray to any gods that I'll be there to see it front and center.
Sounds good.
Like I said, times haven't been great here, and I really think this is something that people could use. And along with the... I'm terribly sorry. Excuse me once more. And you would again stand up and head to get the door for some more mourners. And as he leaves the group of you here again with your meal, I'm sure a lot of questions. If I know anything, it's that there is... I can see your faces. The Zoom call party. The suspicion is at like an 8.5 here.
Something like that.
Lines.
What better cliffhanger could we have than just a fine evening meal in the Gregate Estate, where all things seem to be as in order as they can be, with a very kind and fine host serving you a fantastic supper. Who certainly, well, sure, it's a Pathfinder campaign, has zero ulterior motives whatsoever, obviously.
I trust him fully. 100%.
Sure you
He's a
do.
perfectly nice man. So sorry, everybody, that we did start kind of late today. We had some issues, but we got going. Went a little over to levy that out as well as we can. And when we come back next week, we're going to wrap up a very fine evening meal with Dolphin and Gregate. And I'm sure, I'm positive. I mean,
A new friend.
there's a map for it, so like nothing bad will happen here.
Yeah, of course.
Why would there be a full map of his house, other than if they didn't want to use it just to demonstrate his good hosting abilities?
His nice house, yeah.
How big
Exactly.
this map is.
It's a lovely house.
Exactly.
'Cause-
And it's just a good time, I'm perfectly sure. And
Oh, yeah.
nothing's gonna change, nothing's gonna go south. Nothing bad could possibly happen the evening's meal.
Good. I was worried there.
course,
for a
yeah.
minute.
What could
So
go
we're all on
wrong?
the same page. That's gonna be it for us tonight, chat. Thank you for bearing with our problems. Thank you for coming by and hanging out. I will see you guys Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as we continue Crash 4, which is 10 times the fucking game it has any right to be. Holy shit, it's so good. We'll be back next Monday to see how this couldn't possibly go wrong. And if you want some more Pathfinder, every Saturday afternoon, I am actually live over at twitch.tv/official Paizo. It's not here. It doesn't show up here. You gotta go somewhere else. If you're following Twitter or Discord, you'll see it. And I have this last thing as a special thanks to everyone over on the 2 Perception Patreon. It has helped me make this Pathfinder, these campaigns, a much bigger focus of my channel. Helped me set all of this stuff up, because that was difficult work, and are supporting the Paizo dream here. And extra thanks to those way up on the ridiculous legend tier: Remy, Justinian9, Minuet, Seize Mind, Zurich, Stormruler, and Destronets, and the demigods Jake the Impaler, creator of Sal Sartad, Sal Swordporium, and Wormy Joe. The just absolute gift sub, one of the absolute gift sub king gods in this channel. Good night, everybody.
Chat.
It's fine. He's a nice man. He's not gonna
It's
do
fine.
anything.
It'd be
It's
great.
fine.